himself a crossover.
Oh, killer crossover.
Just crossover. It just crossed him over nastily.
Another victim to the crossovers. Cross him up and sit him down.
All right, time for the crossover. It's powered by Everlow Concrete Repair in Omaha at everlowconcrete.com. Good Monday morning, boys.
Hello.
Hi.
How we doing, everybody?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good. I'm good.
Good.
You enjoy the Oscars last night, or did you enjoy Conan O'Brien more?
Ooh, Conan is built for that show.
Yes.
He's built different.
Having seen the movies, I was there for the movies. I would have been there regardless. Even if they had the audacity to not have a host, which they've done in the past.
Yes. Which is kind of awkward.
So very.
I thought I tuned in at 9:40. I turned on my TV at 9:45 last night. I figured that we had all the big stuff left.
Yeah.
I figured we were going to go till at least 10:30. And I tuned in at 9:45 and they're just wrapping up this speech about how independent films are great. And I'm like, perfect. They're just giving away the best independent film. And then Conan popped up and he said, "Good night, everybody." And I was like, what the hell? What happened? I thought I had 45 minutes left of this.
Nah, they had to go to American Idol.
I
before
know.
Your late local news.
Like they were done by 10 so they could get to American Idol. Like, what is going on?
That's wild. That's why I back in the day they used to just go however long they wanted to.
The Oscars at times can be. I like them. I watch them every year. Kind of insufferable.
Yeah, you were tweeting about them.
I was. It was insane. The costume design got 5 people up there, and they were all talking about how great the costume designers were. But then Best Actor and Best Actress were like throwaway awards, or it's like they did the regular intro. Like why the hell are we going into detail about and the whole costume design is the lifeblood of any film. It brings to life many different things and avenues in which we wouldn't see before. Like, it's a little annoying.
I mean, you know how inter-office politics work when the
I don't.
When the stars get the better treatment than the people who quote unquote do the real work. There tend to be, you gotta wipe everyone's butt and tell them they're special.
Sound design is the kidneys of every film.
Did you just give a parental advice? Wipe their butt and tell them they're special?
Yeah.
Right.
Here you go. Or wipe your butt. I saw nothing. Literally nothing, except for the Adam Sandler bit. That was it.
Oh, that was good. That was good.
That was the only thing I saw that made it off of the show.
Chalamet.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was so good.
How did they not? That's the only movie I saw that was on the Best Picture. I would have given an award.
The Elton John movie?
No.
I would have gave Best Actor to
Bob
Timmy.
Dylan.
Elton John was in a movie?
About Bob Dylan.
Chalamet didn't win?
No.
Wow. Who won?
Honora.
Adrian Brody.
Adrian Brody.
Actor.
Oh, nice.
Adrian Brody might be the worst actor. The
Adrian
worst actor
Brody
to have 2 Oscars
for his depiction of Pat Riley.
That's right. Okay.
Still bummed that Winning Time went away.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Are the Brutalist and the Pianist those just happen to be like the titles of the movies, or are they connected at all?
No, they're not connected.
Okay.
Here's the take. Adrian Brody is the Eli Manning of actors.
Okay.
Not a stellar career, but in 2 very specific set of circumstances, he won a championship.
Look at that.
You will always say
he's a Hall of Famer.
2-time Oscar winner.
Yes.
Adrian Brody.
Somebody else who's having a banger of like the last year plus is Mr. Culkin. To go from winning a big award for TV to a movie last night.
What did he win for? What movie was he in?
He was in a movie called A Real Pain, where he plays Kieran Culkin.
Yes.
That's awesome.
I mean,
that sounds good.
Who
else was in there?
Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh,
he wrote
Jesse.
it.
Yes.
Jesse. Okay. All right.
They go to Poland to like spread their grandma's ashes or something like that.
Okay. They're brothers.
Yeah, and Kieran Culkin is Kieran Culkin the whole time.
All right. Awesome. That sounds fun.
I did notice in the where they do everybody that's passed away in the last year, and Morgan Freeman comes out and talks about Gene Hackman.
Mm-hmm.
There's always one that is left out, like significant. Did you see who was left out this year?
No, I didn't see who was
She
left
just
in.
recently passed away.
Michelle Trachtenberg.
Oh,
No Euro trip love at the Oscars.
Unbelievable.
Like, when do you think they put that together? Because I know she passed away last week.
A couple of weeks ago, right?
They got Hackman in
they
there.
Can definitely. I mean, you kidding me? Have you watched a college football game? We're putting highlights on the cut into commercial 30 seconds after it happens.
So that's probably why they had Morgan Freeman come out to talk about Gene Hackman, because they didn't have time to put him in.
Well, they should have had.
He was in there.
He was
in there
at the very end. He was at the very
Okay.
end, which it's easy to add something to the end.
Yes.
Right?
They could have put her in.
They should have had Matt
Second to
Damon
last.
come out and talk about Michelle Trachtenberg. And then he did a live performance of Scotty Doesn't Know.
But is it? I mean, it's sad, and you realize, God, we lost some major people in the last year in that industry. But the awkward claps, like who gets clapped for and does not.
That's got to be out. Yeah, I know.
Like, I think you can always tell, like, an obscure director or somebody that works on a film that'll get a smattering of applause. That's from the actors and actresses that have worked with them that are sitting in the audience. But yeah, it's like there's complete silence on some. And then there's others, like there's a bigger roar that are more well-known.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know who that is. No claps for me.
Just that star-studded in memoriam this year.
When we're upstairs watching the Oscars, should that be how we judge our life, of what kind of a clap we get at the Oscars?
Gosh, yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
How can you imagine, like, putting your life to costume design for 55 years? You worked on some of the biggest movies of all time with the biggest stars, and then your in memoriam comes up and just no one does a peep, no one does one clap, not one woo.
That's the way that people want to go.
Be brutal.
You know, some people they like to keep it quiet. You know, it's like, it's okay. I did the grunt work. Nobody has to know about it.
Yeah, what was the whole Bond thing, Josh? Like, were they not? I thought they were going to announce the new Bond.
There was a new Bond? There's a new Bond?
No, not yet. I told my wife, I said, I bet you this morning we wake up and find out who the new James Bond is. And that didn't happen, but very odd.
Very odd.
The Broccoli family received an honorary Oscar.
Family
at the Governor's Awards last week.
What's
so they were like,
about?
"Hey, let's sing and dance to the James Bond theme songs of yesteryear."
And did like a really not like a one and done. Like, it was a really emotional, like 8-minute set.
Yeah, there was 3 songs, and one of them was the Adele theme for Skyfall, and it's like, okay, this singer isn't as good as Adele. Why is this person here? And you got Andy McDowell's daughter dancing for some reason.
And no announcement. They just ended, and they did a bow. And I was like, where's Robert Pattinson? Where's Idris Elba? Where is he?
We didn't want the best original song nominees to perform because you don't know any of those songs, but you know James Bond.
They ever have all the James Bond who's played James Bond? Has there ever been a group picture?
The Bonders?
I don't, not top of my
That'd be a banger of a picture.
I guess there probably would be. Many of them are dead now.
But still, like when they first, like their first Bond movie, like the previous one was still alive.
Mm-hmm.
Is Pierce Brosnan? Has he passed away?
No.
Okay.
He's kicking.
He's kicking.
Does he fall into the dead or Canadian game? Isn't he Canadian?
Dead or Canadian?
He's not Canadian?
Couldn't possibly be.
Pierce? I don't know. That does sound like
he's Irish.
He's Irish.
I don't
so
know.
He would not be in
Irish.
the dead or Canadian game.
Pierce Brosnan.
Daniel Craig, Pierce Brosnan. Who else would be alive for a James Bond roundtable? Isn't Connery? Hasn't he since passed?
Yes. Timothy, not Timothy Oliphant.
Chalamet.
I wish.
No.
He's just doing everything.
Now that would make bank.
He could be Bond. Why not?
I should.
Timothy Dalton.
Yes.
That's the Timothy I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
I should know more.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
On a different note, did you guys watch Saturday Night Live?
No.
I only saw the clips, and he was great.
Shane Gillis. Saturday Night Live is one of those shows, and like 2 weeks ago, we all got excited about Saturday Night Live and their 50th. Why does everybody have to preface anything that is mentioned about Saturday Night Live if you like it? Well, I haven't watched it in 20 years. Very specific. Everybody is 20 years.
It's a badge of honor.
Yeah.
It's a badge of honor for people.
I believe that they gave him full reign this weekend because there were a lot of skits that you could tell that he wrote, like skits that would be good in the 70s.
Oh,
the news one where they go like you have two black reporters and 2 white reporters.
Oh, that was good. I saw
and they
that.
start keeping score of like
that was
what
good.
race committed what crime.
That is him writing that.
That was a good one.
Or
I saw a couple of beers.
Couple of beers is already an all-timer Saturday Night Live vignette.
All-timer.
It looked like it would fit in the 70s. Like it was a 70s skit. But it looked like they gave him free reign, and he just, like he was, in his past life as a writer on that show, he just wrote. Like they didn't sit at the table read and like exchange ideas. He showed up and he goes, "I got this skit written, and this is what we're gonna do."
Cool.
Will Compton was live tweeting more of SNL than he has of any Husker football game. I mean, it was all there for his boy and his performance. He was great. There was another one. There was a Shane Gillis one from the last time. From the last time he hosted, where they were at a Jamaican mass, and it was funny. He's great. You can make an argument he's the hottest comedian right now in the world. I don't know if there are too many people who have had this rise and this amount of popularity in terms of comedy as he has recently. I think like Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee were pretty hot for a while, but I think
John Mulaney probably is right there with him.
Yeah. I think Mulaney is made now. I think like Mulaney is Mulaney, and a lot of people know Mulaney and they know the product. I still think that Shane Gillis over the last year has been trying to, creep into that mainstream spotlight, and he's been doing. I don't think there's anyone hotter right now than he is.
So as sports fans, Shane Gillis is everywhere. He's on game day every other week. Making fun of Saban, apologizing to Saban, coming back, making fun of Saban, coming back, apologizing to Saban. It's a bit they have. He's everywhere.
Do you have angst against that? That was a little.
He was in a Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah, he was in a Super Bowl commercial with Post Malone, like not just for like dogs.com, like Bud Light, like a reputable brand.
Dogs.com.
See what's on that website.
Odd that Shane Gillis would pair with Bud Light, but
hey, bring up dogs.com.
All right, dogs.com.
It might be banned in the state of Nebraska.
Wow, this is great job by PetSmart. If you type in dogs.com, you just go to PetSmart.com. Wow. Look at that. Shout out to PetSmart.
If you type in delivery.com, do you go to FedEx or UPS?
Delivery.com. It takes me to something called delivery.com. There's a real thing there. What about cats.com?
Cats.com.
Cats.com is real. Cats.com.
How about peanutbutter.com?
Peanutbutter.com. Skippy Peanut Butter.
Yeah, look at that. Oh, nice. How about let's do grass.com.
Grass.com.
Careful.
Grass.com, not currently occupied.
Okay.
Available.
You can take grass.com.
What's radio.com?
Radio.com is a real website.
Oh, it's okay.
It takes you to Odyssey.
Okay.
What's another thing? Computers.com.
Dale.
Computer.com. It's a website. It does something.
Let's
Computer.com.
take the food. Chips.com.
Chips.com. Is it Frito-Lay? No, not currently occupied.
Okay.
Chips.com.
You're just accumulating so many cookies on that computer.
Basketball.
I was about to do
.com. Basketball.com is they are accepting serious bona fide offers for the domain name of basketball.com.
Wow.
How about best basketball team in Nebraska.com? Do you go to, is that a UNO?
Go Creighton.com.
Omavs.com.
Omavs.com.
Best basketball team in Nebraska.com. Website could not be reached. It's too confusing.
Sure.
What do we do with this? The net rankings say one thing, the results say another. What is going on?
You ready? You guys ready to jump on the bandwagon?
The Mavs?
Part of it?
I've been
on that bandwagon.
Yeah. Did you see the post-game celebration with the chancellor?
Yes.
Of course.
That was
yes, I need the backstory on this.
AEW sent that belt, after the wrestlers were in town last weekend. They loved it so much that they sent the belt, and it's a real belt. Like, it's like 15 to 20 pounds. It's like heavy.
There was no comment on the spilled nachos.
Okay.
Okay.
There wasn't.
Okay.
But they were very interested on how people knew and were watching them.
Hey, we got people. We got eyes. So yeah, okay. How did Chancellor Lee come up with the idea?
AEW shipped that belt early last week, and they're like, "We'd like you guys to have this as a token of our appreciation for what you did for us, and you know what? We hope that you take it to the NCAA tournament, and every time you celebrate, now you got the belt."
Yeah.
So they came up with this idea that at mid-court, if they won, the Chancellor, who is all of 5'4" and 85 pounds, she would pop out of the trash can and hold up the belt. So they whisked
incredible for her to sign up for this, by the way.
They whisked her away and they put her in a trash can while the team was, celebrating at mid-court, and then they wheeled her out there.
There's got to be a behind-the-scenes video of her getting in the trash can.
Well, so I knew it was coming because I went and picked up the belt and looked at it before the game. So they told me what the celebration was. And she hadn't left. There were like a minute to go in the game. And she was still sitting courtside because she was wearing a jersey.
A jersey, yeah.
And she was sitting next to her husband. And I'm like, oh, is she going to do this? But yeah, then the trash can is wheeled out and she's inside of the trash can.
That's so good.
I would have loved to see them pitch this to her and her reaction. So
here's what we want.
Seems like she's all in.
Here's our idea.
Oh, she is.
Here's our idea. We're gonna put you in the trash can. All right. We're gonna reel you out, and then you're gonna pop open like Oscar the Grouch, and you're gonna hold up this title, which is like probably closer to 25 pounds. It's a big title.
Omaha should take the domain name trashcan.com.
Oh, yeah. Is it? I assume it's available.
It appears to be available.
I think the Notre Dame football team already has that.
Ooh.
Oh,
did they not
except for that one time they beat
title?
Georgia.
And they actually scored
pretty convincingly.
It's just my hate. It's my hate. Just let me be. Just let me be a curmudgeon.
Yeah, pick another thing to hate on.
Rodney Bennett would never get in a trash can.
Poll question. Would Father Hendrickson get in a trash can?
More likely to get into a trash can, Rodney Bennett or Father Hendrickson?
He's gonna do it.
I mean, there'd be no need for it, but I'm just wondering.
Now, do you think what about the Admiral? Do you think Ted Carter would have gotten a trash can?
Absolutely. That guy's probably been in a trash can. He's been fighting. He's been fighting the wars. Now he's like, this is familiar to me.
Like if you get to know
feels like
Chancellor
being in the
Lee,
cockpit of a F2 whatever.
Like Chancellor Lee, it makes sense because she's open to a lot of stuff. And she loves sports. What about Ronnie Green?
Oh, we need Ronnie Green in a trash can.
I'm not getting in that trash can. Yeah, I'm not getting in that refuse bin.
You can't make me do it. But if the kids want it, I'll do it.
That'd be so good.
I miss him around here.
Bill Moose in a trash can.
Oh, he's been in a trash can.
Yeah. It's a big trash can.
Yeah. Trev would never get into it because what about the hair?
That's right.
You can't mess with the hair.
Trev would not go in a trash can. I'm most certain about Trev never being in a trash can.
Or the Armani suits.
I mean,
that was a good suit.
He's doing deals. You're not getting that guy in a trash can.
Taking Playfly out.
Poll question is up at Happer Show. Chancellor more likely to get in a celebratory trash can? Rodney Bennett, Father Hendrickson.
Now, Dr. Gold.
No.
I don't think so.
All right. Okay.
More likely to get in a trash can, Bo Pelini or Matt Rule?
I feel like Matt Rule would do anything for the bit.
Bo was kind of down to clown, though.
was he? That's a hot take.
Whole question.
That's a hot take.
He was down to clown.
Hot take. Connor Happer. Bo Pelini.
I mean, he brought out the stupid
clown.
cat. You remember the stupid cat?
Was Bo down to clown up at Happer Show?
He was. He would do a lot for his players.
God,
that's for sure.
Cat.
The cat. The cat. That's what Kevin said. He did bring that cat. I put the cat in the trash can after that.
Anonymous
texter.
Whose
cat is this?
Anonymous texter says Harvey Perlman would have shoved his coaches in the trash can and lit it on fire.
Harvey Perlman in a trash can. His coaches would have loved to see him in there, including Bo.
They would have sealed the top.
Yes. We got to make sure he can never get out. Poke some holes in the side if you want, I guess. Harvey would have fit, though. He's a little guy.
He was a little guy.
Could you fit in a poll question? Could you fit in a trash can? How big was that trash can?
It's a big trash can.
What's the limit of people being able to?
Shoot. I mean,
Was she
was the perfect
comfortable in
size.
there? Was she comfortable?
I did not get a chance to ask.
Okay.
How long was she in there?
With the top closed, probably 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
But she had some toilet paper in there.
She had some toilet paper and she was scrunched down. And
Why'd she have some?
she didn't hear the well,
comfort.
so that when she came out, like the stuff would
Oh,
fly in the air
okay,
like
okay.
confetti.
Yeah. She's not doing anything
but
in there.
You can't
where
put
she
her
would need toilet paper.
You can't put her
Like,
in
she's
there,
not-
but just
yeah.
by herself.
Yeah, she doesn't need to do anything other than pop out of that trash can. If that's what you're referring to.
How did they wheel the trash can out there? Did they put it on
Like
a
on a little
dolly?
dolly, yeah.
Okay, all right.
And they dollied her.
So
out
she was
Well,
she
so
was sideways at one point.
so she's supposed to be listening, so they tried to lead her into like Chancellor Lee, are you here?
Yeah, she
Where
got
are
that.
you? She didn't. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
you-
Eventually,
can-
she popped out.
can
of
you
it.
imagine-
She's probably comfortable.
Can you imagine being the parent of a prospective student? They're like, "What's in that trash can?"
How
"Oh, it's
gr-
the
That's our
Chancellor."
Why
Chancellor.
would you not want to go to Omaha now? The Chancellor, like, just did the in-person Oscar the Grouch move. I mean, that's a great selling point.
I was at the hockey game Saturday night. They had the T-shirts ready to go for sale in the Lawler's store right there.
Oh, the trash can T-shirts.
No, the trash can T-shirts and
Summer
the
League
regular
title.
season champs T-shirts.
You mean we didn't get exclusive ones?
Yeah, they just took whatever was left. And
Got a
threw it
knockout
right
version.
in the-
Look, you got a hat too. I didn't even
Yeah.
notice that until just now.
I got a hat and a shirt.
Look
Geared
at
up.
that. That's nice. Wear that one forever.
Yeah, it's not a great hat because
Yeah,
it's
a
the
kinda-
dad
shape,
hat.
The shape, no,
Yeah.
the shape doesn't really.
But it says regular season champs. But so yeah, So I went to a hockey game on Saturday night. I wore this. I walked around. I made sure people saw me.
Oh yeah, good.
Yeah.
Like it was a pretty good crowd on Saturday night too.
Senior night.
Was
Or hockey.
it
For
was.
hockey.
And I also like the fact that the shirts that they shipped to be as a celebration are all geared towards basketball players. So people are like, like a couple of the staff people are like, "Hey, I need a small," and they're like, "No, these are
We don't have that.
like they're built for the basketball players.
XL
Where
tees.
they're double X's."
Yeah, they're very large. They're long.
Double X.
They're long. Got a bunch of tall tees. Remember tall tees? I used to have some tall tees.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Okay. It's just a t-shirt that it's for tall people.
Well, I am short, so
Yeah, but if
that's
you would have experienced
being tall,
if you would have experienced well, I'm not tall. If you would have experienced the early to mid 2000s.
You would have needed a shirt to go to your kneecaps.
well, I did get shirts that went to my kneecaps, and my parents just go, "It's a sleep shirt," instead of actually telling my relatives, "Hey, maybe buy Matt a media bet so he can actually wear things
So
around."
when you started wearing when you could start picking your own outfits, what was the trend at the time? What were you doing?
So 2 years ago, I started wearing hoodies and sweatpants.
Okay, there you go.
There you go. I mean, it's kind of the Matt McMaster is just a non-matching hoodie and sweatpant.
Can we get
Nice.
the era of like oversized clothes back, baggy shorts?
It was coming. It was coming
And then
back
what
for
happened?
a little bit.
Is it?
I think it's kind of deteriorated a little bit.
Mm.
The retro, I don't know, like last year, the whole like retro 1980s logos, but then putting them on shorts and pants was a real popular thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's since taken a back seat and we're going a little bit toward more minimalism. But like starter jackets and puffy jackets, like they're more in now than they were maybe a decade ago.
Mhm.
But there was some real. We were getting there. We were getting to like the Sandler shorts being like cool to wear at a pickup basketball game. And we've since taken a back seat to, instead of wearing ties, we wear gold chains when we wear suits now.
Chains are back.
Yeah, so
Yes.
dumb. I'm anti-chain.
I want the puka shell necklaces to come back.
Yeah.
That's what these cheap, chains that people buy for $40 to $50 are. Everyone's got to have
But they're nice
your,
and sparkly.
Sparkly white or sparkly fake gold chains
It's
to wear
sparkly
around
black.
and act like you're the guy.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I mean, the quarterback of the football team, wears a lot of them. So
yeah, he likes turtlenecs too. Maybe
that's
are
in
back.
too. Turtlenecks are in as well.
I
That's
know.
another
Ask
thing.
Carl Neptune.
Or a mock turtleneck as well is in. I don't know if wearing a jersey over a turtleneck is necessarily the fashion trend.
Mr. Milchek from Severance loves turtlenecks.
See,
likes
I
to
don't-
show off the guns.
I haven't seen Severance.
None of you guys watch Severance.
I'm about ready to. I will watch the 5th episode of season 1.
Okay, so you're getting there.
Yeah,
You got to power through.
I've been told I got to get through
right
6.
about where I quit.
Power through a little bit.
You quit? You just quit.
You could quit.
Yeah.
It's
You just gave
slow,
up.
man.
It wasn't giving me any breadcrumbs, and I'm like, this isn't fun. This isn't enjoyable.
Yep,
Come
you'll
on.
get
I
there.
would have quit unless, then I heard you guys saying stick with it. So if I get to 6 and it's still, I'm out.
Even though we're telling you that it definitely does
because
get
it's
better.
So I don't know how you guys stuck with it.
It was the
when
only thing
first
that
came
was
out.
on. It was the only thing that's on. It's the only prestige TV show that we have right now.
Hey, Apple TV is on a roll. There's some good stuff on Apple TV.
Did you give Suits LA a second chance, or are you out?
I did not watch it last night, but I will watch it sometime today.
Okay.
Is
But
there
I
a
am-
princess on this one?
Huh?
Is there a princess on this show?
There is not.
Oh, sad.
Which they are trying to recreate it with the same type of mindset, but Harvey's not there, or he's supposed to make an appearance on the show. Donna's not there.
Yeah.
Mike's not there.
Is Lewis there?
Lewis is not there.
Then what? How is
Meghan
it
Markle is not there.
How is it Suits LA? How can you call it the same thing when none of the same people are there?
Because
It's
they
like
were in New York.
It's like CSI,
Yeah.
New Orleans, CSI, Cyber, CSI.
It's just in LA, so it'll be more about what as opposed to what.
They have sports and entertainment divisions and
Oh.
and it's like LA Law.
Okay.
You know. Way back in the day, loved LA Law. The cast on LA Law, banger. It was before your time.
I'll trust you on that one.
Had a great. It is. I think it's one of
Ditto.
the most underrated theme songs. Is the Open to LA Law.
How does it go?
Dun, 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 dun. I'll play it for you.
Josh, you know that? Yeah. All right.
LA Law.
LA Law. Okay. See you guys later.
On that note,
See you guys later.
have a good Monday.
Thanks. You too. That's the crossover powered by Everlevel Concrete Repair in Omaha at everlevelconcrete.com. It's Monday. We'll start things off next.
That's the crossover. The Connor Happer Show is next on 1620 The Zone.
A breezy and mild Monday ahead. Expect some sunshine early on, then becoming cloudy as south winds pick up, gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour most of the day. Highs around 60. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
At University of Maryland Global Campus, we give our students credit. Credit for deciding while stuck in traffic to get a bachelor's degree. Credit for managing 3 kids, 2 dogs, and a full-time job to pursue an MBA. Students at UMGC can use prior learning or relevant experience to earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's, and graduate students can transfer up to 12 credits toward their master's. Flexible online and hybrid classes start March 12th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
It's the Connor Happer Show. Are we sure we want to do this?
Could you, make an announcement that we're ready?
It's the Connor Happer Show on 1620, The Zone.
Welcome in, everyone. Happy Monday. It's the Connor Happer Show. You're on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Josh Odson with you. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Back from a weekend of sportsing.
All the sports.
And now is when bleep really hits the fan. We got, our local baseball teams are scheduled to play baseball here in our state this weekend.
Oh,
this week. I mean, they're currently scheduled to play here this week, although, thinking about Omaha and Nebraska baseball tomorrow evening at Hal Anderson Field is a little concerning.
You could
a little concerned.
You could make
I'm concerned
backup plans. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. If you want to have a night at home or grab something to eat on the way home and not having to be worried about going out to a baseball game, you could probably do that. But we'll see. As we're supposed to get hurricane force winds apparently tomorrow night and snow.
Totally normal.
So I don't know. And then maybe this weekend, by the time the weekend rolls around, the snow is gone and we'll be playing some baseball around here. Nebraska is their Big Ten opener this weekend with Washington. Have you heard this?
What?
That's right. Washington is coming to Nebraska to play baseball, and they're in the same conference.
They've been playing baseball for 2 weeks. Why are we playing conference baseball already?
Playing conference baseball. There's 18 teams in the Big Ten now, Josh, and you have to have more conference games. Of course, you know why you do this, for the TV money. The TV money to television and money. It's taking over college sports, as we have previously discussed on the show.
Northern Colorado series died for this?
Maybe. I mean, that was traditionally like a Tuesday, Wednesday situation.
Okay, true.
But Nebraska has gone. Nebraska, Creighton have gone more the way of maybe we'll get South Dakota State in here.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska is scheduled to host South Dakota State, I believe, on Wednesday night. So we'll see on that one too. Creighton's scheduled to go to K-State on Wednesday night. That
you scheduled to go to K-State Wednesday night?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Wednesday afternoon.
You had floated the idea.
Yeah, not that I know of. But you never know these days. You never know where we might be on any given day.
That's right.
All across the country, 1620 The Zone will be.
We're Globetrotters.
When the NCAA tournament rolls around here in the coming weeks. Not very long until Selection Sunday, my friend. Today on the show, Mike Schaefer will join us at 11 today. Mike Schaefer moving up to 11 o'clock.
Of course, everyone knows this.
Mike Schaefer, I believe, will be the host of the afternoon show today, one of the hosts of the afternoon show.
Whoa.
And so we'll get a double dose of Mike Schaefer today on the show. Sam McKewon will join at 1. And Jake Meyers, young Jake, not so young anymore. He's been in the big leagues for a little while now.
Crafty veteran Jake.
Former Nebraska Cornhusker, current Houston Astro, will join the show today at noon. That is the lineup, powered by the Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. We'd love to hear from you all. 402-951-1620 on the hotline. You can call or text that number. Tweet at Happer Show, at Connor Happer on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. Email Connor, Josh O at 1620thezone.com on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox. And we say good morning to the YouTube streamers today. Hello, everybody. How we doing? Can we get some what's a theme from the weekend? What did we see a lot of
from the weekend?
What did we see a lot of this weekend?
Can I get some L's in the chat?
Oh, hey, yeah. There were some L's.
Tell me when I'm telling lies, Connor.
Except for the Mavs.
That's right.
Not many of those.
No.
Hop on the trash can, everybody, and let's go for a ride.
They don't take L's.
Elsewhere today on the show, we'll look back at what some of the Huskers have done at the Combine. Not that that's the important story, because every year we try to do revisionist history about the players' careers and how good they were based on how they do at the Combine. It's one of my favorite times of the year, Josh.
It's like the spring game. Well, he had a good spring game. Why don't they put him in?
And today is that day. Yes, we will talk about Nebraska basketball and them losing. Their souls were stolen by a man named Brennan.
Brennan.
One of the stepbrothers got him for 20 on Saturday. Sadly,
sipping his blue Powerade on the sideline.
not good. So we'll discuss them. The Mavs win the Summit League outright this weekend. Creighton was blasted at Xavier, and then it came back and then got blasted again. Double blast. The old double blast. We'll have our baseball roundup for the weekend. I did not watch 1 second of the Oscars. Josh will tell me about it.
I got more takes.
Can't wait. And there was a historic coin flip in the SEC.
I didn't know anything about this until reading this sheet at 1 a.m.
There you go.
To prep for the show today.
And did you happen to see? This is speaking of the fighting Omaha Mavericks. They went down to Kansas and played 4 games this weekend in baseball.
It's a lot.
Did you happen to see their rowdy student section?
No.
They were getting after it. They had a full packed student section, heckling the whole thing. They were all loaded up at Hoagland Field and Lawrence. Maybe student sections for baseball are coming along. Who knows?
Stupid question. How'd they get the kids to come to the game?
It's a great question.
All right.
I have no idea. It didn't seem like there was a promotion or anything like that. I think they just all decided in unison, we're all going to show up to this thing and yell and scream.
Okay.
For 4 games against Omaha.
Sure.
It was awesome. It looked great. So we'll promote student sections in college baseball, which could be. I mean, could you imagine all of the Nebraska students on the berm heckling the first baseman or the right fielder or the third baseman or the left fielder?
What an environment.
Could you imagine all of the what if you put the students at the Chuck, like in the 200 section, they're all up there bouncing around or something like that, just making a bunch of noise.
Be incredible.
In the corner over there. Yeah, maybe.
You wouldn't, I imagine as a baseball team, you wouldn't know what to do because you're like, this isn't normal.
Yeah.
Like, we're not an SEC school. We're not used to rowdy crowds.
This might be an area where you could you could actually make a difference. You could see real change off of this. All right. So that is the setup for today's show. We appreciate you all coming along with us, but let's take a break here and we'll have a nice conversation, a nice one about Nebraska basketball this weekend.
Oh, am I leaving?
You don't have to be nice if you don't want to.
Okay.
I don't know how nice I'm going to be, but we'll have to talk about it.
The unpleasantness.
And they're still not dead. Still not dead.
That is true.
I'm just saying, still not dead. People are back to firing people again, and what a roller coaster this has been. All right, so we'll discuss that coming back on the other side, get to some quotes and what went wrong and how little went right on Saturday at Pinnacle Bank Arena for Nebraska basketball, coming up on 1620 The Zone.
After further review, the host is deemed to be out of bounds. The Connor Happer Show returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal is to Site One Brewing. Get $50 in gift certificates for only $25. Site One Brewing is an award-winning, locally owned craft brewery known for its exceptional beers and backlot Detroit-style pizza. Site One Brewing, located on 25th and Farnham, is the perfect place to enjoy great food and good company. Come and enjoy a cold pint and a hot slice.
Zone deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com. Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Jordan writes in on YouTube.
Hi, Jordan.
What's the next step after cancellation? Nebraska ball needs whatever that is. Josh, can you speak to this?
I was pondering this after Nebraska bleeped the bed in a game that they themselves claim to be must win, gotta have it, black out the arena.
Can't lose.
And
No. Stripe out.
How
out. Dare you?
Whatever.
Stripe out. Then they striped it out. It looked good.
Gagged hard. I'm
What is it? What happens to them now?
double cancellation.
Okay. So John emailed in and he said,
you can triple stamp a double stamp in this scenario.
Josh caved and didn't stick to his convictions. He uncanceled Nebraska basketball.
Never uncanceled this team.
And now they are not going to make the NCAA tournament. Look at what you've done, Josh.
No. Never uncanceled.
You canceled, you uncanceled, and then you canceled again.
They were always ass. I told you they were ass, and no one believed me. They said, they won 6 in a row.
Yeah.
Well, now they've lost 3 in a row.
Yeah.
2 of them to crappy teams.
And the other one, they scored 46 points.
That's right.
Yeah. That wasn't good. I'd like to read you a couple quotes.
Oh, okay.
From after the game.
Love a good quote.
It's Fred Hoiberg. The thing about our group that was disappointing in that game, when you go out there and get slapped around a little bit, get punched in the mouth, is the body language. The head hanging. It makes you sick as a coach to see that lack of fight and urgency to get out of that thing until it's too late. Bryce Williams, quote, the game and the gods reward people who play hard, people who have the right approach, people who have good attitude, and we didn't start with that. But Minnesota did, and then our energy, effort, and intensity picked up, and the game got right, the score got right, but it just seems like I'm saying the same... But it just seems like I'm saying the same thing every game. Bryce, welcome to hell. Welcome. He's had one of the better Nebraska basketball individual single seasons like ever. Period. Mm-hmm. He's in there probably I know he's in the top 10 in single season scoring right now in Nebraska basketball history. I think he's like number 6 or 7. At the moment. I just there was a Seamus note on that earlier. He's 9th right now. He'll go to 8th after the game tomorrow. And then Nebraska will play more. I mean, he'll be in the top 5 after the regular season ends here. So he's had a good individual season, but unfortunately, when you go to the NCAA tournament last year and you bring some of the same pieces back, I'd say you bring a core back. The expectation is that it does not look like this. And right, it's not so much what their record is, because it's 17-12 and they're 7-11 in the conference, and that's not horrible. In fact, they are, depending on where you look, they are directly on the bubble right now, basically, as it pertains to the NCAA tournament. And if you were to tell me that before the year, I don't know, Josh, I might sign up for it. If you're telling me sign on the dotted line for the exact position they're in right now or any other position, if you don't sign, it leaves open the possibility that anything else could happen. Would you sign on the dotted line for being exactly where they are right now, which is directly on the edge of the NCAA tournament?
Nebraska ball fans often say, I just want to play meaningful games in March.
Meaningful games in March, meaningful games in February. They've all been meaningful. Mm-hmm. They've just happened to lose them all. Not all of them.
Yeah.
The winning streak was still going on when February was happening, but it's slid off over the last couple of weeks here. They've lost 4 games out of their last 5. And the one that they won in there was at Northwestern when they played horribly for 25 minutes. So it's not necessarily about the position that you're in. It's about how it feels right now. And it doesn't feel good. But let me flip this on you. And so, by the way, final score 67-65. Nebraska gets down by 19 at the start of within the first segment of the second half. They're down 47-28. Nebraska's win probability at that point is at 16.8%. It's not good.
Not great.
It's not looking very good. And then they claw back. They get some turnovers. They put the press on. They turned up the heat. They turned up the energy. And you're like, what is going on?
They're going to do it again.
All the way back to take the lead, or it feels like even in the last, 2-3 minutes left, and maybe even with 10 seconds left, they're going to win. You get late game heroics from a Jawan Gary tip in off of a Bryce Williams miss, and you're like, we got it. 9 seconds left. Get back on defense. Where's that guy? Where is he? Oh no, he's shooting a 3-pointer and it's going in, and he's blowing kisses to the crowd, and he's waving and he's yelling. He's doing all of these things. Brennan Rigsby tore the heart out for
Brennan.
His name is Brennan. Brennan has not had a great year. It's been up and down for Brennan, but he got his opportunity to play 23 minutes because he had the hot hand. Made 5 out of 6 3-pointers and sunk Nebraska with 4 seconds left. And unfortunately, as Nebraska turns it around and goes the other way, the ball ends up in the hands of one Andrew Morgan from about 38 feet away, with no time left on the clock, and it went off the backboard, off the rim, and out. Nebraska did what they could not do: lose at home to Minnesota.
Something they've never done before.
In the history of Pinnacle Bank Arena. Yes, it's been a long time. So I hate to do revisionist history, and we're going to talk about the epitome of revisionist history when we talk about Nebraska dudes at the combine a little bit later on in the show. But let me just proffer this idea to you. When you look back and you evaluate Nebraska's roster, and you look at the talent and athleticism or lack thereof on Nebraska's roster, this is something that we talked about extensively before the season. It's like, okay, they have Bryce Williams, they have Jawan Gary, they do not have Rink Mast. We don't know what to do with Raleigh Worcester as a point guard. But any way you cut it, it's not really the talent, right? The expectation had to be for Nebraska basketball that they were going to be greater than the sum of their parts. They had to be, or they have to be this year in order for that to happen, in order for them to go to the NCAA tournament, in order for them to get the most out of this. And I think, if you're talking coaching and stuff like that, one of the core questions that you always ask is, did you get the most out of this group? The answer for Nebraska is still, what their lack of talent and athleticism is still no, because we've seen what it's like when the switch is on. And for whatever reason, they can't put 40 minutes together. They can't put 25 minutes together. And it's not because of what they have or what they don't have on the roster. It's effort and energy and urgency. And so when you flip it around and you say, okay, well, they don't have a lot of talent and they don't have a lot of athleticism, and you can't get them to play hard for 40 minutes at a time, it's a recipe for disaster. Well, with that being said, they still have 17 wins. They're still directly on the bubble for the NCAA tournament. When you flip it that way, it's almost sort of amazing that they've won as many games that they have, and they still have a chance to go to the NCAA tournament. And I'm not trying to lower expectations or anything like that, but for all the people who want to fire people and all that stuff, like I'm just not there. I think I think you have to dial in, as if we're looking big picture. Nebraska has to dial in from a coaching and recruiting standpoint and a player evaluation, I guess you'd say, because it's going to be a lot of transfer portal. You just have to really dial in on chemistry and culture. And I think I don't want to put this all on one guy because it's not, but this is an example of it. Nebraska, they knew they had Bryce and Juwan, and they knew they'd have to piece it together elsewhere. And they got Connor Essegian. Didn't want him to be like your third most important scorer this year. Got guys who will really battle, like Morgan and Mia. And then they went out on the portal and they paid big money for a guy named Berke. And Berke had the old O rating of 76 on Saturday against Minnesota. He did happen to make a shot in that game. And I'm not saying his presence isn't important or everything like that, but I just think, like, you look at the roster and you're trying to build it with chemistry in mind and with grit in mind. And I just don't, there's one guy on the roster who doesn't give you that. Once again, it's not all his fault, but if as a program, you really have to dial in and be true to what you are going after. Right. And one piece or a couple pieces or whatever can throw that off a little bit. And you look around the roster and then you have these quotes that come out all year long about, the lack of ability to put it together or the response that they have. It feels like they're always sort of responding to things. There's a chemistry thing in there. They need to get that right. They need to get that right. They had to get that right this year. And I don't think they got it right. For whatever reason, the chemistry just doesn't work. It's led to a lot. It's led to bad IQ plays, people being on different pages and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. Obviously, you want to recruit talent and you want to recruit upside, but you really have to be careful with the guys that are on your roster and the guys that you're taking out of the transfer portal, and stuff like that. And this is how it's going to be every year. Nebraska's going to recruit a lot of guys out of the transfer portal, and to some extent, you're at the mercy of what you get. But you got to make sure you're valuing the thing that makes the team more than the sum of its parts, more than any other thing. They need they need positional depth and they need length and they need athleticism, and you have to go out and all these things because they don't have an established culture of, like, you walk into Nebraska basketball and there's a certain something expected of you. And if you don't bring that thing to the table, you can't play. Nebraska doesn't have that at the moment.
Right.
I don't think they have that. And so you just have to be conscious of that stuff all the time. And all this could be for naught because they still could win tomorrow night and win again against Iowa and go to the NCAA tournament and all those things. It doesn't really feel like that right now. But it was a tough watch. And it's just, if you're Fred Hoiberg, and he said it, like he said, makes me sick. You got to be sick they can't be trusted to play hard for large swaths of the game. And it's shocking. Like it's crazy how it is. And so I don't know what that is. I don't know why that happens. I just sort of, I thought about that piece of it, the chemistry piece, and how it's really doesn't seem to be there with this group.
They have a 17% chance of missing the Big Ten tournament. That
Really?
is the fourth best odds to miss the Big Ten tournament.
There's only 3 that miss.
That's right. Iowa has the third best odds, so that Nebraska-Iowa game feels big. Would you agree that they're a worse basketball team than the one that won the Diamond Head Classic and beat UCLA and like at that moment?
Well, sure.
Like, this team gives effort, and
the results would tell you that.
Now, granted, the field wasn't phenomenal at the Diamond Head, but they won it. They went there and they won it, and that's all you can do. And I mean, effort is like the bare minimum that this team asks of you. They know that they're not going to score 100 points a game. Like they're a defensive team, and we kindly ask that you play defense for 40 minutes.
You have to have that all the time.
Yeah.
You have to have it.
We got one guy running the Bel Air prep offense, and if you're not playing defense, like the formula doesn't work.
Yeah. So you're still relatively in position here.
Yeah.
Backs are against the wall.
All your goals are in front of you.
I think, you're still kind of in control of what you could control here. But it doesn't feel great at the moment.
Feels like it's teetering.
Yeah. So we'll talk more about Nebraska ball with Mike Schaefer, who will join the show in just a couple minutes. I'm sure he has many thoughts on what he has seen play out over the last couple of weeks here, and then we can get back into it later on in the show as well. We are through hour 1 here on a Monday. Back with Schaefer coming up next on 1620 The Zone.
Come the Guardians.
Yeah, I have statistics to back up that we have people that listen.
Mike Schaefer.
Anytime there's sort of a debate as to who can do something, Happer would always put his name forth, for sure.
Husker 24/7 on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
I could be a star.
All right, we're joined now on the hotline by Mike Schaefer, friend of the show, friend of 1620 The Zone. So much a friend that he's driving up to Omaha this afternoon, I think. Right, Schaefer? Hello.
Yeah, I'm currently driving. I'm not even waiting for it to get to the afternoon. I'm driving right now. But I found my wallet, so we don't have to worry about that. I'm safely in my vehicle, so we don't have to worry about that. So just trying to make it easier on the good folks of the crossover.
So you're gonna be a little early, I by my math.
Yeah, I have set up some plans that allow me to not only be early, but stay busy while I'm up in Omaha.
Okay. All right. Schaefer, how was your Arizona spring training? How long were you there? A week? A few days? What was the deal like?
Not long enough. I got stuck in a 6-hour delay on Wednesday flying out, so that cut into my time. I missed seeing the Cleveland Guardians play the Rangers in a game that it would have been me and like 12 other people at, which is real disappointing. A lot of foul ball potential there, but so Wednesday kind of got cut a little bit short, but I was there from Wednesday, and then I got back Saturday. I was in line for the game on the bridge at like 12:58, lined up, got in before the first tip to see Nebraska basketball have yet another just sheer stupid loss. So I feel blessed that the air travel only failed me one direction and allowed me to experience Nebraska basketball in its fullest.
Yeah, if you would have taken a delay, you probably would have taken one coming back, and then you wouldn't have had to experience what you experienced.
I don't know which would have been worse, because like I clearly would rather have been at a meaningful Nebraska basketball game than being at a spring training game, even for as much as I like going to spring training games. But at the same time, like if I'm not there and I'm having to watch that delay or having to watch the game in the bar with probably no sound and just trying not to be a lunatic, that could have been difficult too.
Mm-hmm.
So, there was really a no-win situation there as far as Nebraska just being depressing on Saturday. I think either route was going to lead to the same kind of result.
Okay, so before we get to Nebraska basketball, I need your full evaluation and report on the Royals, who I think you saw during this trip. You sent me a text that Bobby Witt Jr. hit a home run near you. This is fantastic news. What did you think?
Yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. hit a home run. Jonathan India just smashed I think it was Freddie Peralta, but it might have been somebody else on Thursday. I randomly saw the Brewers twice, which was not like a planned thing. It just happened. And I don't remember which starter was which, but Jonathan India like smashed. I swear there was no Statcast, but it would have been like 115 mile an hour double down the left field line. It was one of those where the left fielder knew he had no chance, but still tried to jump for it. And was like 6 feet under the ball because it was that much of a rope of a line drive. So I was already kind of interested in Jonathan India as like a Royals offseason addition. Now I feel like he could be a really interesting piece for that team as a leadoff hitter, the guy that just kind of get on base, taking advantage of the big stadium with a bunch of doubles and maybe some triples. He was a pretty good player for the Reds a couple years ago, and he's not bad. He's just been kind of average since, and maybe he can rediscover high-end form for Kansas City, which I only really care about this from trying to get him for $1 at the end of an auction here in a couple weeks for fantasy base.
Oh yeah, you could if you could take advantage. I would do that if you have the opportunity to get Jonathan India for $1. I think it's a good move
for that lineup.
Say it again.
He's going to get 700 bats at the top of that lineup. Vinny Pasquantino is going to drive him in like 65 times himself.
Well, I think that might be worth it for you. Okay, good report. I'm glad you got to see the Kansas City Royals, the American League Central champions of 2025.
I think that's probably accurate. I don't believe it's going to be the Guardians. I think the Twins are kind of a flawed roster, and the Tigers I don't think they have the same magic from last year. So I don't have any problem with that. I mean, I don't really believe in the division as it is, so it could be any of those four. But whoever wins it's probably going to win like 86 games and be a so-so team going into October. But congrats to them in advance.
I'll take it. All right, Schaefer. Diagnose, like, why can't Nebraska be trusted to like do something simple such as play with urgency when their season is on the line at home against a team that is, you know, underneath them in the standings or was underneath them in the standings? Like, why do you think that we've been on the roller coaster ride that we have been on?
I cannot figure it out with this team. I thought early on one of the strengths of it was they had so many role players that if a guy or two didn't show up, you'd have other guys that would be able to step in and cover for it. I thought that, you know, you had the two kind of foundational rocks in Bryce and Gary and enough to build off of it. And now it just feels like each game they're losing, you can kind of pinpoint people just aren't able to show up. On Monday, you had a horrible Jawan game. That if you just get an average Jawan game, you win. If you get Connor Essegian to make a three, you win. Like that was a really tough loss on Monday. And then on Saturday, you get 21 out of Jawan, 21 out of Bryce. The officiating couldn't have been more in Nebraska's favor. Things are just lined up in that direction. You're not playing an opponent that's physically imposing or has a bunch of guys that you're normally worried about. And yet Nebraska, which held Michigan to 49 points on Monday, couldn't get stops in the first half against an average Minnesota team. And then, of course, as we know, late couldn't get the stop after taking the lead twice. And Brennan Rigsby, all of 4.4 points a game and 25% three-point shooter, has the game of his life. And it's two go-ahead threes to basically just take Nebraska out of the moment each time. And I look at it, you know, that whole second half was 5 players. Like they just, all of the other role pieces, like Burke was so bad, you couldn't play him in the second half. Braxton Mia couldn't be played in the second half. Raleigh Wooster and Aaron Eulis are really, really terrible right now, for the lack of better word. So they had 5 players to play the end of that game. Like it is kind of alarming how it has all just disappeared for some of their role guys. And they look like a team that finds ways to lose and not a team that wins. And the tough recipe for the late of February and early of March where you're just trying to string wins. I mean, they did enough work early in the season. All they had to do was get to 19. And it does not feel like they're going to be able to do that. I mean, I like their chances against Iowa at home. We'll see what happens with Ohio State. I think if they get to 19, they're in. But I think they need the 2 in the regular season and really shouldn't be depending on anything in the tournament. I just don't think you get as much credit for tournament wins as you do regular season ones.
Hey, what you said about the Minnesota performance coming off of Michigan, where they held them to 49 points. Do you lend any credence to the idea that some of what Nebraska does game in and game out is a result of what the other team's jersey says? Like they seem to get up for the big ones and play relatively well.
Team. They're definitely an elevator team, but they're not an elevator team that travels, because Wisconsin, Purdue, and Michigan State, all very good teams, just put it on them and ran away. So I just think they represent what the Big Ten middle is this year, which is like 8 to 10 teams that are capable of beating each other night in and night out. I mean, I don't really think there's a ton of separation between anybody after the top group of Michigan State, Purdue, Wisconsin, Michigan. I mean, if you cut it there, any team that comes after that, and then, I don't know, the end of the conference is like Washington, Northwestern maybe, and then everything else in the other 12 teams there are capable of beating each other. I mean, I guess you could argue UCLA, but I think it's fair to put them in the mix with everybody else. They're a little bit on the higher end, but there's just a lot of average teams in the Big Ten, and it's such a soft bubble that Nebraska, for once, has all the metrics it needs. It just needs to add a couple wins, and that's what's unbelievably frustrating. I mean, you look at that home schedule, and it's easy to find a couple games where it's like, wow, they really gave this thing away.
Yeah. So, official prediction, do you think they'll end up in the NCAA tournament?
I was at 70% Tuesday of last week, and I am at 48% for no reason on Monday today.
Feels like a safe number, given that it's in the I have no idea zone, which feels about right for this team.
Like, I can see everything from big win on Tuesday, followed by goose egg on Saturday or Sunday, which is just should never happen on Senior Day and against Iowa. They have all the motivation in the world. But at this point, if they lose both games, they're out of the Big Ten tournament, right?
Yeah, they still have a chance to like back their way in with if somebody else does something else, but generally, yes.
Yeah, so they've got to win anyways. So I think 1-1 is the most likely of the two results here. That's why they just needed to go 2-3 down the stretch, and they were going to be fine. And of course, Nebraska being Nebraska, it just feels like the reverse of football in some ways, where I guess maybe it's similar, but football, it was like, oh wow, they're 5-1, and then they're not looking to make a bowl game, and then they're able to get the win against Wisconsin. Basketball, it looks like they're going to be in the tournament, and then they can't just get any wins at the end of it. You still get to the same result, which is sort of a shrug your shoulders postseason berth. Basketball, NIT, football, playing in New York. I mean, it's the men's sports around here are just not making anyone swell with pride at the moment.
Schaefer, one of my favorite, aka least favorite conversations of the year has popped up, which means it's another year where a player or multiple players who played football at Nebraska in the previous year have great showings at the NFL Combine, and then we do revisionist histories on their entire careers. What do you read into Thomas Fidone and Isaiah Neyor having good days at the Combine? It can't be surprising given their athleticism, but maybe a little bit given their production in college.
The general thing with this is the Combine is something you can prepare for. Like you can prepare and train yourself to put up numbers. And when you already come in as a Thomas Fidone, where you are a physical freak, this is a number one tight end in the country, nearly a 5-star recruit. He's battled through 2 ACL tears. I think the commentary on his depth as a football player has been way over the top. I mean, he was a solid tight end for 2 years. He wasn't used particularly well this past year, and I thought he played pretty good football against Boston College. And I would have been interested to see what another year of Thomas Fidone. I'm not shocked a guy like that performed well in the Combine. I mean, he has the historical pedigree of being an elite athlete. Isaiah Neyor is similar, where this is a guy at Texas that they thought they had absolutely stole a star from the transfer portal. The thing with Isaiah Neyor is I've watched him on the field. I don't think he's strong enough for the NFL. I really don't. In the Combine setting isn't necessarily going to show that. Show the 50-50 balls where he's getting the ball wrestled away from defensive backs. Show the lapse of mental judgment or the inability to block on the edge. Like, he's a nice player, but the Combine setting isn't going to show you the dog in him. I have no doubt that Thomas Fidone has that. I have a lot of doubt that Isaiah Neyor is going to fight through everything to be the 53-man on an NFL roster, just based on what I watched this past year. And I don't mean to take away from him. It's just that we didn't see that version of him at Nebraska. That doesn't mean he can't be a good player in the future. It just means Nebraska wasn't able to get it out of him.
How much of what those guys did or didn't do in college is a commentary on what Nebraska was as an offense last year, right? Like, I mean, they weren't.
I think it's certainly some of that, but at the same time, like, you say Isaiah Neyor, and the first thing I see, there's 2 plays, and they're very dramatically different. There's the tremendous catch in the corner of the end zone at the beginning of the season on the 2-minute drill, or the one against Illinois. And then there's the just complete drop against Iowa. It's not that he didn't have chances. He played. He was a starter. I don't know that the offense did him a lot of favors in the middle of the season. I don't know that Marcus Satterfield and the direction of what they wanted to do did him a lot of favors, but I know that he struggled to beat man coverage, and some of that is want to, right? He struggled to block on the edge, and again, some of that is want to. Like, Nebraska probably could have done more for him, but there's no question he could have done more for Nebraska too. He was a good enough player that it felt like he had a bit of an underachieving season.
No doubt about it. Schaefer, anything going on in recruiting that I know you wrote something about a 2026 prospect just a little bit ago. Anything we need to know about?
Yeah, I just as a plug for that story. I mean, I think Titan Davis is a clear number one prospect for Nebraska in 2026. He's St. Louis defensive lineman that they've been recruiting for 3 years. 6'5", 240 pounds. Can play inside, can play outside. I think he's got a special career ahead of him, and I think Nebraska has invested a lot of time in him. Titan Davis is definitely a name to know. He's going to visit later this month, and I think Nebraska has really put in the time here, and so we'll see if it's able to pay off. They were the third team to offer. Now he's got near 40 offers. The most recent ones are your Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Colorado, Miami. So he's certainly not under the radar anymore. And this is a guy that, when it's all said and done, could also be near 5-star or 5-star territory. He's that good, and so it's a huge recruitment for the Huskers.
All right, Schaefer. We'll see you. We'll see you later this afternoon. You bring a deck of cards with you, or what are we doing?
No deck of cards. We'll figure it out. We're creative minds.
Yes,
we can do this.
We'll have things to talk about. All right, Schaefer. See ya.
See ya.
Mike Schaefer, Husker 247. Yes, up on the website right now. The story regarding Nebraska's recruitment of Titan Davis. That is a good name for defensive lineman, folks.
It is, yeah. Powerful, strong.
Alabama, Georgia, Texas have all joined in on that recruitment, according to Schaefer. And Nebraska's like, please stay away. Please. I don't think they're going to get their wish on that.
Well,
one.
Guys, they said please. Sorry.
So we asked Schaefer about it, and been a lot of conversation regarding it over the weekend. Former Nebraska players' performances at the Combine, Isaiah Nair and Thomas Fidone, have raised some eyebrows around here. Notice that we're not talking about Ty Robinson, which is good, by the way. Ty Robinson should not be included in this conversation, even though Ty Robinson was everybody's good of an athletic tester as those two were. The difference is why we're not using Ty Robinson as an example as to talk about what Nebraska players didn't do in college is because Ty Robinson produced. They got everything out of Ty Robinson that they possibly could. According to the athlete scores, Nebraska did not get everything out of Thomas Fidone and Isaiah Nair. So it's a layered conversation. I want to have it when we return. It also doubles as one of my least favorite conversations of the year.
Oh.
Yeah. It's just
like bottom 5 conversations we have every year.
Yeah.
Go.
Great list. We could absolutely do that. Connor doesn't know anything about that's today, the Oscars. What's going on with the movies? There's
so many great movies.
All the movies are bad. There you go. Just had the conversation again. So let's talk about it. Let's get through all the layers of it when we return. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts. 402-951-1620. We're back after this on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. But first, I do have a reminder for you all that this week, or maybe this is not a reminder because this is, I think, the first time you've heard about this. The 1620 The Zone is teaming up with Union Bank and Trust for something new in 2025. We're calling it the Omaha Food Fight. So each of the major stations here at NRG Media are responsible for a category of foods. Us here, the dudes, the men, the meat boys at 1620 The Zone are responsible for steak. So what your job is to go to 1620thezone.com right now, or you can go to 1620thezone.com/Omaha Food Fight, and submit your favorite steak restaurants or steaks in Omaha, and then your suggestions will be used to make a bracket that will go up against all of the other subcategories of foods. Sweet 98.5 is doing pizza. Power 106.9 is doing wings. The Keg is doing burgers. So we're going to try and put up our best against the other 3 stations in the other 3 food categories, and we'll see who comes out on top. But right now, we need your suggestions. 1620thezone.com. Once again, get your nominations in now through March 13th, and the voting on the bracket will start March 16th. It is the Omaha Food Fight, presented by Union Bank and Trust and 1620 The Zone. the Kansas City Royals have an announcement.
Oh?
I have an announcement. Mike Moustakas will sign a one-day contract to retire a Kansas City Royal.
As God intended.
As God intended. They will be holding a pregame ceremony on May 31st to celebrate Mike Moustakas' career as he retires a Royal. The Royals will be playing our favorite team, the Detroit Tigers. Feels like they're always playing the Tigers. They're playing the Tigers when they go down there, or when we all go to Kansas City for the football game too, right? Pretty sure that's right.
Probably.
And they're doing Husker night and all that stuff. Yeah. So the Moose is loose, and he's retiring Kansas City Royal. What do you think about people retiring as whatever?
That's where my head is at. I'm going to defer to your judgment. Mm-hmm. Does the career of Mike Moustakas warrant this type of fanfare?
I think all of his other teammates from the championship team of the core have gotten it.
Okay.
And so it does seem appropriate.
Okay.
It does seem appropriate.
That's fine.
Are you looking at his Baseball Reference page? It might tell you differently.
I'm looking at his wiki.
Same thing.
Sure. 247 average, 215 home runs, 683 runs batted in.
He was famously sent to the minors in 2013 for not getting any hits whatsoever. And it didn't really turn it on as a Royal until after he was fine the year they won the World Series.
3-time All-Star.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, fan votes.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Comeback Player of the Year in 2017. He was also an All-Star that year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That one was not a fan vote.
Right.
Necessarily. Yes. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. Hosmer got it. Salvi's gonna get it. Kane got it. Right. Might as well give it to Moustakas too. Hell, we have, and it is 2025, and so they'll bring all the players, they'll do they did the 2014 reunion last year. Now they have to do the 2015 reunion. And
it'll look so different.
It's what happens when you go to the World Series 2 years in a row.
That's right.
I wonder if they'll do a 40-year anniversary for the 85 world champs. Maybe they do that all in one or something like that.
No. That just reminds me that I'm turning 40 this year. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Not to bring up.
It's going to come up a lot over the next 2 or 3 months.
The Royals won the World Series mere months after you were born, Josh. Mm-hmm. And then they did it again 30 years later.
That's right.
And maybe they'll do it again 40 years later. Josh, you should be a Royals fan. They do it for you.
I have no ill will towards the Kansas City Royals.
Thank you. In fact, you'll be giving them your money to go watch the Braves play this year, right?
That's right.
Hopefully it's not 40 degrees and raining like it was last year.
Well, that was Jackie Robinson Day, and that tends to happen on Jackie Robinson Day.
You've mapped out when they play there this year, right?
It's
July.
Yeah.
Nice. It will not be 40 degrees.
May 17th is World Series replica ring day.
Yeah. So I imagine they'll be having a lot of these celebrations in mid to late May, it seems. It's good. All right. Combine. First of all, let me say this. I hate this. I don't want to do this.
For your combine news, please go to Michael Severe.
Yes.
But he's not here.
No.
So we have to talk about it.
Yeah. Thomas Fidone had the 4th best 40 among tight ends. He ran a 4.7. The best broad jump among tight ends, 10.6. And you're starting to you've seen all these charts this weekend from the RAS, the relative athlete score. This is new. They're able to get this data, really quickly and put it all together. On the Thomas Fidone relative athlete score, he was ranked 78th out of 1,216 tight ends that have been evaluated at the combine since 1987. That's 78th out of 1,216. Josh, that's good. Not in the way that you say it, but that is good. Isaiah Neyor, he of dropping balls at Iowa, scored even higher in the relative athlete score. 11th out of 3,400 wide receivers that have been evaluated at the NFL Combine since 1987. 11th! Now, the athletic traits don't tell you everything, but I see these conversations and I see them being used as like, well, what happened here? They have these two athletes on the team. Maybe they go on and they have successful NFL careers. Maybe not, but unfortunately, we do have to do this. And I will go back to this. This is going to keep happening, and we're going to keep doing this conversation every year until Nebraska starts winning more games on the field. This is what bad programs do. They don't get enough out of their best players. Nebraska is absolutely guilty of that. They have been guilty of that for a long time. That is not to unshoulder Thomas Fidone and Isaiah Neyor from all of the blame of what happened in their careers. Also, I'd like to throw into the equation that, Isaiah Neyor was here for 1 year, and there was injury concerns with Thomas Fidone throughout his career. Like Schaefer said, I would have liked to see Thomas Fidone back at Nebraska for 1 more year. It just didn't seem like it was going to happen toward the end of the year when Daniel Holgerson, kind of, gave all of his snaps to Nate Borkircher, right? Mm-hmm. That happened at the end of the season. But it gets thrown into this pot of Nebraska not taking advantage of some athletes. Oftentimes we have this conversation a lot, Josh. Oftentimes Nebraska players, they'll go to the combine, they show out well, and then they get drafted in the NFL draft, and then they hang around for a while, or they don't get drafted in the NFL draft and they hang around for a while. Hey, they carved out a nice career for themselves. And oftentimes you look back at their college playing days at Nebraska and you're like, yeah, I just didn't feel like we left something on the table there. And there's no doubt Nebraska did. I'd like to mention how Nebraska's offensive coordinator last year was Marcus Satterfield. It didn't go well. It did not go well. Once again, that is not to unshoulder these players from all of the blame, but you can't help but think about, man, the NFL gets these guys and they put them in positions to succeed. And then also what happens is like they leave Nebraska and it's always felt like to me, I don't know if this is the case or not, but Thomas Fidone has always been the kind of guy he's had an edge to him, right? We've talked about how he's been a polarizing figure, I think, around here for a long time. And, those players oftentimes give off the sense that they are happy to be gone, happy to not be at Nebraska anymore, because of how it didn't work out. Hey, once I do this and once I go to the NFL, if somebody takes a look at me, I'm really going to shine. And this is, like I said, this is what bad programs do. This is what Nebraska has done for a very, very long time. They've had a bunch of good athletes. They've had a bunch of good players come out. And don't get me wrong, Nebraska certainly had it the other way too. I think there's been a bunch of players who have played at Nebraska who I could say, man, Nebraska got the absolute most out of those players. Hell, there's going to be one guy in this year's draft, probably the highest drafted Husker, Ty Robinson. He was a really highly recruited athlete coming out of high school, but he had a 6-year career here, and I think Nebraska got everything out of Ty Robinson that they possibly could. So it's not a 1-to-1, but I'd also like to remind people, and you may have noticed, that Isaiah Neyor and Thomas Fidone each play offense, and Ty Robinson plays defense. I think there's something to that, right? Nebraska's offense for the last couple of years has been hard to tell which direction they're going, right? It's been difficult to tell. All right, what are we going for here? We got a lot of stuff on our plate, but are we good at any of it? And unfortunately, I think for Fidone, and once again, I don't. This is not the only thing, but it feels like for Fidone in particular, since he was here multiple years, it just ended up where he never got the right combination for position coach, coordinator, how you're integrated into the offense, and being healthy all at the same time. That's how that kind of has to happen. in order to be a star at the college level. So I think Thomas Fidone will probably, get drafted in the mid rounds of the NFL draft, and he'll probably have some success. He'll probably stick around for a little while. He's an interesting pass catching threat. And he's a willing blocker and stuff like I think that'll play. I think he'll do fine. Nair, on the other hand, is maybe even, I don't know if he's more interesting, but it's a weirder case where he had some injuries throughout his collegiate career, and he ends up at Nebraska, and he ends up in a bad situation with Nebraska's offense, kind of the way it was last year. But there was never any doubt about it, about his athleticism. And then, in an opportunity, and I know the one thing that I'm going to think about when I think about Isaiah Nair's time at Nebraska. Actually, there's two things. Schaefer mentioned them both: the catch in the back of the end zone in the UTEP game, and then the drop over the middle against Iowa. And sometimes that's what you get remembered for if you're only around for 1 year. But man, he's an incredible athlete, and the stats bear that out. As Schaefer mentioned, is he strong enough to have success at that position at the NFL level? We'll see. But I also like to remind people too, just because they test out really highly in terms of these athlete scores and whatever, does not guarantee any success at the NFL level. And then it goes back to the age-old question of what would you rather have? Do you want the production? If the scales had to be tipped heavily to one side or the other, do you want a guy with heavy production, low athleticism, or do you want a guy with heavy athleticism and low production? And I think from the NFL team standpoint, depending on snap counts and how many miles are on the tires and all those things, they probably say, I'll take the athleticism. And they'll use the lack of production as, oh, there's more to get here. We could get more out of this guy. And it wouldn't surprise me if either of those two fall into that category. So, yes, I know there was a conversation this weekend. We got a tweet in from Mustache Adam.
Hi, Mustache.
Is it fair to say they can be good at all the testing items, but are good at football, at actual football?
Ooh. Yes.
See, this is why this is a nuanced conversation.
We don't do well with nuance.
No. # we don't understand nuance part. What are we at? 56,000, something like that at this point. I don't think it's that hard line. I don't think it's that black and white. Enter the nuanced part of the conversation. I think they could be good at the testing items. And I actually, think there's a level of those guys are good at football. Not good at football, but good.
Okay. Important distinction.
At football. And there's some of it that's on them. There's some of it that's on Nebraska's offense, the state that it has been in for the last couple of years. Nebraska's not in a position right now to get the most out of their players on the offensive side of the ball. They haven't been for the last couple of years. In fact, they haven't probably been for a long time. Nebraska hasn't produced many highly productive players over the last decade on offense. Think about it. I mean, you can probably count them on one hand. When we're talking about production, let's take the offensive lineman out of it just because it's so difficult.
Cam Jurgens.
So let's take them out of it.
Oh, damn.
Wide receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks, and tight ends.
Whew.
So the most productive guys over the last 10 years at Nebraska, I'm just thinking of this off the top of my head, so bear with me and help me out if I missed any. Stanley Morgan, Samori Toure. I wouldn't put any running backs in that. I mean, Divine Azigbo.
Amir Abdullah.
We're going the year after Amir leaves. Right? He doesn't count anymore. Quarterback, Adrian Martinez.
Jets legend.
Tanner Lee. Right? There haven't been Nebraska has not, there have been very few players on the offensive side of the ball for a very long time who you could say, man, I really think Nebraska got the most out of that player, and they were productive in college and they project well into the NFL. Like Stanley might be the only guy, one of the only guys, unless there's somebody that I'm obviously missing.
Trey Palmer.
Good one. But once again, when you talk about him and Samori Toure, 1 year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They played 1 year at Nebraska.
Well, I mean, the offense has stunk out loud for quite a while.
Don't you think there's a corollary there?
Probably.
Yeah. I would say so as well. Text from the 402.
Hi, 402.
Best of luck to the librarian.
That's a good nickname.
It is a good nickname. It just never really connected with him at Nebraska. And once again, it's not one thing, but the offense not being any good is a part of it. Different coordinators, different position coaches, injuries. Like when you're looking for a reason why Nebraska's offense has felt so unsettled for that entire period of time, we're talking about 3 head coaches. We're talking about more offensive coordinators, more position coaches during that period of time. It hasn't been a place that has been conducive to development because it's been so unsettled. It's been so unsettled for that period of time. And so when you look for a guy to, come in and develop and get better, and then by the time they leave to the NFL, you're like, man, they got a lot out of that guy, and he projects well to be an NFL player. It's hard to find him because Nebraska's been so unsettled. It's not an environment conducive to development. So Nebraska's got to get that right, obviously. And they think they've taken a step here with Dana Holgorsen, and we'll see. But with that being said, they're going to have a 1-year receiver this year in Dane Key, who's supposed to be their top guy. And, like maybe Ja'Cory Barney is on the roster right now, and he's the next, expected person in that category. They're going to have Isaiah Hunter for a couple years. They're going to have Cortez Mills for a couple years. And so you start there. And on the defensive side, they've pumped out many. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Offensively, not so much. All right, we'll be back. Josh has the odd news when we return on 1620 The Zone.
And now we've reached the point in the show where Josh Odson reads the peculiar, the bizarre, the comical, the odd news with Odd Son. Odd news, Odd Son. See what we did there? The odd news with Oddson.
All right, Josh.
Connor.
What's cooking on the odd news?
Well, we have yet another update on the saga of Sabres sideline reporter Rob Ray.
Oh!
Bleep. Seriously, it's a really funny clip. You should watch it, but we can't play it on the radio.
No.
He showed off his toughness after taking a puck to the face last week in a game against the Rangers. The next game for the Sabres, he was up in the 300 section as a bit like, I got to stay far away from the puck. Well, he returned to his home between the benches over the weekend. And
was he wearing a helmet?
The Carolina Hurricanes gave Rob Ray a gift to help ease his nerves after being hit, after the threat of being hit by another puck.
Oh, really? There was one that zipped over his head or something?
Well, anything can happen down there.
Gotcha.
He returned to the ice for the first time. He was gifted a whole roll of bubble wrap with a letter written on it. To Ray, stay safe.
That's cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'd take a whole roll of bubble wrap.
Absolutely.
Now, probably they could have just given him a hockey helmet. I don't know why they didn't do that.
Feels like you probably had one of those lying around.
Yeah, instead of a whole roll of bubble wrap, but I get it. They're here for the show.
Sure.
With that being said, what are you supposed to do with that? How's it supposed to functionally work? You can't wrap yourself in bubble wrap and also broadcast a game at the same time.
That would be a great bit if you had like an intern or a production manager actually like, okay, you gave us the duct tape. We're going to roll this guy in duct tape, and he's going to do the game rolled up in duct tape.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
Or bubble wrap. Sorry.
I don't think that I want to do that.
Probably one of those things that, this will be funny. This sounds like a great idea. And then you're like, this is a terrible idea.
I'd broadcast a game with a helmet on. I think that'd be funny.
Sure.
Maybe a good bit.
Good bit. Do it at the College World Series this summer.
Do it at the College World Series. You could do it at a Creighton baseball game, which people forget starts on Friday at home.
Okay. Feels early.
Yeah.
I guess it's March.
And then Saturday, and then Sunday, and then it never ends.
Till the College World Series.
College World Series. By the way, quick aside, speaking of weather, since we're expecting some horrible weather tomorrow night, we're in blizzard watches and warnings and winter storm, whatever. So we haven't recorded our 4th of July video yet.
We have not.
We missed our opportunity last week, but we do have a blizzard, one last blizzard potentially coming up tomorrow.
Gosh, yeah.
So we'll have to get out there and really
ham it up.
Really bear it for a couple minutes.
Okay. We can do that. We're tough.
Yep.
Back to college baseball.
College baseball.
Friday's matchup between Florida Gulf Coast and the 8th-ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Connor, were you locked into this one?
No.
Well, in the top of the 5th inning, FGCU. I'm not going to say it that way anymore. It just feels very perilous.
It does seem mildly dangerous.
They led 5-1.
Yeah.
Gulf Coast did.
Yep.
And what do we always say about college baseball?
Don't tweet. Don't. That's what I always say about college baseball.
Don't tweet because your bullpen probably sucks.
Yeah.
Well, Florida Gulf Coast did not heed our advice. They tweeted, they supposed to be SEC.
That's so bad.
Georgia.
That's like the worst thing you could do too, because you're not only talking smack to the team across from you where you're in the 4th inning or whatever it was.
5th inning of a Friday night game, 3-game series.
You're also talking about the entire conference, which we know
is good at baseball.
They're pretty good at baseball, and they will come after you.
They will. Georgia tied the game up at 9 in the 9th inning, and this is going to shock you. They won the game Friday night.
This Twitter account, as I'm looking back at the tweets from Friday, I mean, they are very antagonistic. There's a tweet out a video. So bottom of the 4th, 1 out. Florida Gulf Coast is at 5-1. Guy from Georgia does a check swing, and the clip, the caption of the clip says, "You went, sit down." Like, dude, all right, hang on. I get it. You guys are trying to play hard. Whatever. But
so then came the time for them to tweet the final score graphic.
Right, because you got to do it.
To which they tweeted out. Normally, they would just tweet the final score and kind of hang their heads.
They said final, period. Nothing else.
They said the social media manager has been fired.
Yeah, so we have relieved admin of their duties. 2 more opportunities tomorrow, they said. How did the opportunities tomorrow go? Well, Georgia won the next game of the doubleheader, the first game of the doubleheader on Saturday, 10-0. And they won the second game of the doubleheader 9-8 in 10 innings. Then they played again on Sunday, and Georgia was, well, I don't have a final score from that. The last clip they tweeted was from the 9th inning when they were winning. So, final, Georgia 4, Florida Gulf Coast 3. Hashtag wings up 20 hours ago. Didn't put a graphic with that one, though.
Just kind of.
They were supposed to be SEC, Josh.
Time to hop on the plane.
Yeah.
Georgia.
That's a clean 4-game sweep.
Georgia 13-1 on the year. We go to Florida for our final story. When planning to vandalize your former boyfriend's car with very expensive eggs and yellow paint, always a good idea to make sure you know the exact make and model of the target vehicle. Cops charge Evelina Fabianski, 18 years young, for mistakenly damaging the wrong vehicle in a Florida street where her ex resides.
Now, if she would have mistaken the correct vehicle, she still would be under some scrutiny.
She would, yes. A different kind of scrutiny, but still scrutiny nonetheless. 911 call came in about a young woman spray painting a vehicle. It ended up causing $5,000 in damages to the innocent coupe.
See, when you go spray paint, that's when you mean bit. You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool. We'll throw some eggs and stuff at the car. Like, it's all fun and games. We're sending a message. The message is very clear. When you get out the spray paint, kind of irreversible.
Definitely.
Right? It's, I mean, you get a new paint job or whatever, but like, that just feels like you mean business when you bring out the spray. There's something about spray paint that makes it, you know, it makes it feel serious.
It's escalated, right?
Yeah.
Jason and Devil were words that she clearly spray painted on the vehicle. She had a 16-year-old accomplice, a sidekick, if you will.
Sure.
She told cops afterwards, "I was angry that my ex owes me $700.
That's it.
That's it.
And so she spray painted his car and called him the devil.
The devil. Watch out for the devil now.
You just call him. Why don't you just call him and say, hey, what about that $700?
If we're not a thing anymore, that's fine.
Yeah.
Gonna need that $700.
I just want my $700.
It's a lot of money.
You don't have to immediately jump to vandalism.
No.
That's the lesson.
And if you were in a relationship with this person, you should know what kind of car they drove.
A couple YouTube comments here. Plattcat.
Hi, Plattcat.
By the way, Plattcat was in Cincinnati. Tough times.
Wow.
Tough times.
Sounds like a terrible weekend.
Could Connor do a show in bubble wrap?
A radio show?
I know what you're trying to do, Plattcat. You're trying to get me to volunteer myself to do a show in bubble wrap. You would have to cut out a little hole for me to speak into this microphone.
So
I wouldn't want to.
He could. I mean, you physically could do it. It would
imagine how hot I'd get.
But also,
it's already so hot.
You would just be rubbing up against that bubble wrap, and it would
make a lot of noise. Yeah, make a lot of noise. I always did think though the giant industrial size rolls of bubble wraps, pretty cool.
Yeah,
I kind of want one of those.
Yeah. I imagine a lot of teens at the hardware store looking for rolls of bubble wrap for no reason on a Friday night.
Also, Plattcat writes in, could wrap yourself in bubble wrap during the Let It Fly shootout, just in case. I'm worried. We got one game left this season, and somebody's going to throw some stuff at me. If it goes wrong.
Oh, no.
I should be prepared for that. Josh, I mean, we probably didn't talk about this because you were gone. They played Wednesday night, and you were gone
was there
Thursday.
another incident?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I mean, almost. The kid made the 3-pointer and then ran out of time before he got to half court, and I think he threw up a shot. and I had to come in there and be like Jeffrey Anderson. No, no, no. And then they started booing me.
Oh, sure.
The people, the heathens at the Creighton games started booing me. Don't boo me. No, please.
We live in a society.
Yeah. So that was the story. All right. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Connor.
That is the odd news. When we return for the noon hour, let's have a chat with one of our, probably our favorite major leaguer. He will be the Major League Baseball player who has joined this show the most, right?
A great distinction that I'm sure he takes great pride in.
We have to break him the news. Jake Meyers, Omaha native, Nebraska Cornhusker, Houston Astro, joins us on the other side here on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
He does it the only way he knows how. With his massive sports brain sprinkled with a smidgen of rabble-rousing. Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, you know it's spring training when the broadcasters wear polos, which is what's happening right now on MLB Network. Although this isn't spring training, we have World Baseball Classic qualifiers going on between Brazil and Germany right now. Somebody alert Nick Grimm.
This is huge.
Tell him.
Huge for the pool play.
Nick asked me this morning, he's like, hey, are you going to get up for the Japan or whatever, the Korea series, whichever one it is, coming up in a couple of weeks? Apologies. They're going to open with games
in Tokyo.
In Tokyo. So in Japan. Are you going to wake up early and watch the Japan series? I go, no. And he's like, oh. And I asked him if he was, and he was like, I might.
I
was like, all right, cool. I don't think I've ever made plans to watch a baseball game unless it was like a Royals playoff game, right? Like I need to clear out my day and schedule around this. But in the history of watching baseball, I don't know if I've ever been like, all right, here we go. Regular season game, clear out. Time to make some room for this. I don't think that's ever actually happened. Maybe I don't think it's ever happened to anyone.
You're going to set the alarm for 5 a.m., roll out of bed, and watch first pitch between the Cubs and the Dodgers?
What, 5 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah. March 18th?
It will probably be on by the time I get up. So maybe I'll make the extra effort to do something I don't normally do in the morning, which is turn on the television.
I'm just happy that Gary and Matt would get some live sports.
You don't see it very often.
You don't
see it very often. All right. So we'll see if Jake calls. You know, it's kind of one of those things.
Spring training, it's very casual.
Speaking of not making plans for things, you know, you just never know.
Yeah.
You just never know. So we will go on without for the moment. Josh, what happened to the Oscars last night?
Oh, Connor.
Tell me.
Let me tell you.
Tell me nothing. Can tell me everything at the same time.
What
I'll tell
do you want to know?
I'll tell you exactly what I've seen, and you can fill in the blanks.
Okay.
All right. So I turned on the TV at 9:45 last night, and it said the Oscars have 1 minute remaining on the guide, and I was like, I know that's not true. These things go till at least 10:30, maybe 11. I'm like, all right, sweet. I'm probably locked in for the best awards right now, and I'm about to find out about all these movies that I haven't seen this year. And it was in the middle of a speech, and all of the people were talking about how independent movies or this movie was truly independent. And I was like, oh, cool. We must be at Best Independent Movie. Sweet. They walk up the stage.
Not an award. I want to be clear about that.
I figured it would have been. Really?
Yeah. I mean, there's
best independent movie is not an award.
They have the Spirit Awards, which are awards solely for independent film.
Okay.
In which shocker, Anora did quite well.
Next thing that happens, so that was Anora.
Okay.
Next thing that happens is tall ass Conan O'Brien comes up on the stage and he's like, all right, that was fun, everybody. Peace out. Good night. And I'm like, what the hell? I thought I saw an hour left of this. And it ended. They must have cracked down with the network or something like that.
Well,
they tightened it up.
ABC wanted to slide in American Idol in between the Oscars and your late local news. I'm not sure why.
Wow.
We can let American Idol die. It's fine. Like it doesn't have to be a thing.
Also pretty sure a lot more people would have rather watched the garbage Oscars than garbage American Idol.
I would think so.
No doubt about
it. Yeah, Anora won.
So I saw that part. And then the other thing I saw that was a breakout from it was on Twitter, and it was Sandler doing his bit.
That was pretty funny.
It was very funny.
Very funny.
I very much enjoyed that. And end sentence. Okay. End list. That is literally
nothing
it.
Else.
What else happened, Josh?
Conan O'Brien did a very good job. He was built for this. He was always going to do a good job at this.
Okay. I buy that. That seems right.
Adrian Brody cemented his Eli Manning status as a man who has 2 championships and a whole lot of crap on his resume.
What were some movies? Give me some movies.
Some movies. Anora won Best Picture.
And Anora is what?
Anora is the story of, it's a timeless tale of a sex worker with a heart of gold. who
Classic.
gets involved with a Russian oligarch. They get married, and then the Russian oligarch's parents find out and try to get the wedding annulled.
All right.
The
happens from time to time.
The Brutalist won some awards.
Brutalist, that's something that I've heard of.
It's a 3.5-hour movie with a 15-minute intermission about a man who immigrates to America to become an architect.
Classic
Art Vandelay story.
It is an Art Vandelay story. Yep.
What else? What else happened at the Oscars last
Nothing
night?
is particularly appealing. Did anybody get slapped?
No
in
one
the
got
face?
slapped.
Did anybody say anything controversial? Did anybody make a splash on the red carpet with their dresses and attire?
A lot of people talking about Timmy Chalamet's yellow suit.
Okay, Tim was wearing a yellow suit.
I
did see him briefly because Sandler did the Chalamet.
Bob, he's there for the Bob Dylan movie.
Yes.
And Bob Dylan has a song about a yellow taxi or something. So people were like, oh, it's a Bob Dylan reference. I'm like,
okay.
Feels like a stretch.
Yep.
Adrian Brody, during his acceptance speech.
So did Adrian Brody win the Oscars? Why am I hearing Adrian Brody so much?
He won the Best Actor Oscar for The Brutalist over Timmy Chalamet.
All right.
And they tried to play him off multiple times. And he said, no, you will not play me off, but I'll be brief. He said every time, hey, you can stop playing me off. This is important. This is serious. I'll be brief. But he did it 3 times.
One more thing I did see. I saw Kieran Culkin's speech.
Yes.
Hilarious talking about how he told his wife that he wanted another kid. And she was like, you got to win an award.
You got to win an Emmy and I'll give you a third kid. And he said, hey, I got that Emmy. Where's that third kid?
Yeah.
You want to go for 4? And she said, okay, if you win an Oscar, I'll give you 4.
Yeah.
And he
said he literally had not brought it up to her until that moment when he was on stage, called her out publicly in front of the world and said, let's get busy.
Let's get busy.
Let's do it.
So
that seems nice. That seemed.
Congrats on the sex, Culkins.
Yeah. That seemed real. That was cool.
Yeah. They frequently cut back to her where she seemed to nod in agreement that yes, that's real. This is a real thing that happened to us as a couple.
Okay. Joe-Yo is saying that Brody got to first base with Halle Berry again. What does that mean?
In whatever year
I know what first base means. Well, I guess depending on what you view as that, but the other stuff, Halle Berry was there.
Yes, Halle Berry was there to intro the.
Why is he kissing Halle Berry?
The musical tribute to
and what
James
is
Bond.
Again supposed to mean?
Well, back in the day, I don't know what year it was, when Halle Berry won Best Actress Oscar for Monsters Ball. These are all things you remember, I'm sure.
I know Monsters Ball.
Okay.
I never saw it.
Adrian Brody won Best Actor for The Pianist, and he was so excited that he
very excited
planted a big wet one on her.
Nice.
And people
got one chance.
People were like, wow, this man has forced himself upon a woman who was not asking to be forced upon. And Halle Berry said, I've got it. I'm going to kiss him at the parade or press conference or party or whatever it was. And people were like, that's a reference. I remember that.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
So we're doing callbacks now.
That's cool. That's cool. To other viral moments.
Yeah.
How was the after party? Any reports about things that were said or done at the after party?
I have no reports. Let's check in with our friends over at TMZ.
I'm sure they have. I'm sure they got takes. They got eyes everywhere over there at TMZ.
Oh, Kim Kardashian's a Skims model. I think I already knew that.
Okay.
Casey Anthony launches TikTok as legal advocate. A lot of follow-up questions there, but that's not what we're talking about.
No, we are not, Josh.
Jeff Bezos crashes hot Oscars trio.
Jeff Bezos got invited?
I guess. Well, Amazon has a movie studio, and they're...
I guess. When you're Jeff Bezos, you're kind of just allowed to go everywhere.
Stars flood after parties. Here we go. This is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Look at Timmy Chalamet.
How drunk was he?
And his not girlfriend.
Oh, he's got one of those. He's in a situationship.
Him and the Jenner girl. I don't know her name. I'm sorry. The Jenner girl.
Which one?
Not the billionaire. The other one. The Pepsi one. These are all references people get, I'm sure. Kylie? No, Kylie's the billionaire.
Kylie, you got it.
Kylie? Is Kylie?
According to Google.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they're dating.
All right.
I don't know if they've said, hey, we're dating.
And that's your Oscars update.
Good update.
Yeah. Where's our award show music?
Oh, I thought I had it.
Oh, there it is. Thank you, Josh.
Oh, they're playing me off. Don't do it. No, just one more thing. I'm serious.
That's what they all say. They say, don't play me off. Don't play me off. It's like, yeah, but at a certain point, we kind of have to play you off, especially when you're on that significant of a time crunch, which I didn't know about until 9:45 last night. It ended promptly when the DVR guide told me it was going to end. That has never happened before.
Before the show, it said 6 to 9 p.m. And I said,
they flexed it.
I said,
they hit it with a little Big East basketball.
Yeah, a little slide.
Yeah.
I said, hey, dear, this show is ending at 10:30. It's not ending at 9.
Yeah.
I can't believe they're going to go 90 minutes over. They only went about 45 minutes over, but
so they split the difference. They got it out. Yeah. They got out of there at 9:45.
They really had to jam an American Idol episode in there. And a performance from The Wiz.
It's amazing. It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for the Oscars update, Josh. I learned a lot.
Thank you.
I'm
here to help.
I saw many movies this year.
I don't think that's true.
I saw many movies.
Tommy Boy was not nominated, nor was Dumb and Dumber.
Unbelievable.
Snubbed again.
I don't know how. I don't know how many movies made in 2024 I saw in 2024. Because that was the Oscars commemorating 2024, right?
Wow. It has to be 0, right?
No, it's at least 1.
Okay.
I remember the one.
I remember seeing one.
I remember one. It was the one with Jason Bateman and the plane.
Oh,
the Christmas one.
Yeah, the very memorable one that
that movie sucked, but
it was Die Hard 2.
But I watched it. Jason Bateman was a bad guy. It was kind of a twist.
Carry On.
That may have been the one movie made in 2024 that I saw in 2024.
You know, this is going to shock you. There were no references to Carry On during the Oscars ceremony.
How was there not? It was the one movie I saw.
It wasn't the movie Netflix was touting for Best Picture.
Andrew writes in,
Hi, Andrew.
I don't know anything about this. Did you see the De Niro speech?
The De Niro
I don't
speech.
think, was De Niro there? I feel like if De Niro was there and giving a speech, I would have heard something about it.
Yeah.
De Niro famously gave a rousing speech at one of the award shows a couple of years ago in which he said, he told the president to bleep off. But that was several years ago now.
Okay, here's an article. This is from this morning.
All right.
Did Robert De Niro say F?
Yeah.
President
that was like 8 years ago
during his speech at the Oscars 2025.
No.
Viral video debunk. Okay, so yes, it's a clip from
that was probably 16, right?
Yeah.
That was almost a decade ago now. I did see that mostly because it was a decade ago.
Yeah. That did not happen last night.
All right. Thank you.
I'm glad we could debunk a myth.
Just wanted to confirm that. So I did see the De Niro speech. It was just 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. That's the Oscars recap.
Still counts as something you saw.
Indeed. And if you come up with any movies that I saw in 2024 that were made in 2024, you please let me know because I got nothing right now.
Just put in the YouTube chat titles of movies that came out this year.
I'll tell you if I've seen them or not.
We'll go rapid fire lightning round. You won't have seen any of them.
Honestly, great bit. Just name movies that came out in 2024. And I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
At every single one.
I like this bit.
Okay. Let's talk about Creighton for a few minutes before we take a break here. They lost.
They lost bad, Connor.
They lost bad.
They once again can't rebound the basketball.
Yeah. Yes. They also didn't shoot it very well again. It's starting to be it's starting to be a little concerning. They shot 6 of 24 from 3. And I thought I thought their pressure Maddox on Ashworth, like he was just hounding him and chasing him around all day. I thought that bothered them a little bit. With that being said, I mean they got it back to 6.
They did
in the second half. I mean, it was shocking. You know, I was in the car for the beginning of the second half. I strategically planned a Costco run like right at the end of first half. I was in the car back at the start of the second half, and John was like playing Dead Man Walking already. He was like, and Fremantle's getting hot. You know, because right at the he hadn't done anything in the first half, and all of a sudden Fremantle comes out and he's crushed him at the start of the second half. And you're like, oh my God, what's going on? And get a couple buckets and start turning around, get some stops. Got it back to 6. And then what happened was I came about as close as I've ever been to throwing something at my television.
Oh.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, and this is some of what happens. Like it's a high pressure environment, right? But you have done so much work to cut down the lead the way that they did. And they get a rebound off of another miss, and Ty Davis is in the game. And we'll do the retrospective on why Ty Davis is in the game for a second, but he grabs a rebound and he runs like directly in, like he was tractor beamed into a quadruple team. He just ran right into, no numbers. He just started running right into the group of Xavier players. And there's like 4 Creighton guys looking at him behind him on the play who are like, what are we doing? Where are we going here? Xavier made a 3 on the next possession. The game was basically over. And then they got it back out to embarrassing levels again before it ended up being, 83-61 was the final. I'm glad they got that bucket. They got that layup at the end. I think it was Jason Green who got the layup at the end. Because 83-59 looks a lot worse than 83-61.
Yeah.
Can you confirm?
I can confirm.
Yeah. I'm glad they got that layup at the end there. But housed him. Okay. So, and this is not like the game was not all on Ty Davis, but I legitimately thought they had a chance to win at that point. Because it looked like they were about to complete the comeback. Dead serious. I had never been close. Like I was mad about it for 5 minutes after that. But Ty Davis is in the game and he's really playing 3 or or the 2, like he's playing an off ball, role. Because Fedor's not there. I didn't think that they'd miss Fedor that much. Fedor's sick. He didn't play.
Someone's always sick on that
Somebody's
team.
always sick on Creighton. I can't explain it. It's supernatural at this point. They're playing Ty. Mason Miller is pretty much like, I don't know. I don't know at this point. I don't know what to do about that. But you only have so many options when you don't have Fedor. Like he has all of a sudden become a very, very important piece for them. And didn't have him, and so you're trying to piece it together with what you need from Jason Green, and obviously he's limited in what he can bring you offensively. And so you roll in parts of Mason Miller, and you're like, okay, gets up a couple threes, misses both of them badly short, and you went with Ty, and I thought I don't know that Creighton wins the game, obviously because they played pretty poorly in the several minutes that led to the big comeback. I don't know if they win with Fedor. Like you can't make that argument, but man, they needed a little bit of playmaking. And I just felt like they needed people to kind of make smart decisions. And credit Ty because, Ty's thing is like, he's going to go in there and he's going to play really, really hard, but it's fast for him right now. And he's doing things that he's not going to be doing, roles that he's not going to be playing a little bit later on in his career. But I mean, that gives you an idea of how, thin Creighton's margin for error is right now. McAndrew, it was good to see him come out and make a couple of them early in the game, made his first one right out of the bat. That felt like a good one for him. We only got 9 points from Ashworth. You only got 8 from Jemiah. And you had to lean on Ryan Kalkbrenner, who apparently the fans in Cincinnati loved. He stayed afterwards and signed autographs. Or Creighton didn't have to get out of there. I think they stayed the night in Cincinnati. And what?
The Cincinnati fans were clamoring for Ryan Kalkbrenner's autograph?
That's right. Dude,
aren't they famously a
he's
crowd?
Patrick Ewing. He is like one of the best Big East basketball players of all time.
Yeah, but aren't the Xavier fans notoriously bunch of jackwagons?
Not really. They're just loud. It's a good environment when you go play it. I don't think it's overly.
Is it still the Cintas?
It's still Cintas Center.
Okay.
There was the picture that John tweeted out from the bus, which was I think it had the most middle fingers out of any picture I had ever seen.
A lot of Stone Cold Steve Austin fans in Cincinnati.
That was awesome. But that's good. It's good-hearted fun.
Oh, okay.
That's good-hearted fun.
Okay.
Right? It's Midwest Big East. It's not Providence Big East. You know what I mean? There's a difference there.
I think I understand. Okay.
You'll So yeah, they see it afterwards, and Kalkbrenner signed a bunch of autographs. It's your last chance that you're gonna see the big man. Anyway, I don't know. I don't think much was lost there for Creighton. Obviously, it would have been a win you would have liked to have. If there is anything lost, I talked about this on Friday. That whole Operation 6 seed thing looks like it's dead. And man, that'd be nice for this team. Ooh, we talked about this on Friday too, Josh. Let me bounce this off you. Is the 6? If you're not one of the best 8 teams in the country,
okay,
is the 6th seed the best seed that you could have?
Ooh,
in the NCAA tournament.
Okay. Yeah, because you stay away from the ones in the twos.
You don't get the ones in the twos.
Yeah.
And the case is like everybody between, like the 15th best team in the country and like the 30th best team in the country is basically the same. And that all takes place in between basically the 3 and the 6 seed. And so like if you're a 6 and you meet a 3 in this, you meet a 3 in the second round, you're probably thinking, oh, that team looks just like us. They just have a couple more wins than we do. So I think that track is probably dead for Creighton at this point in time. I think you look at the bracketologies right now that I've seen coming out, they're sitting around an 8 or a 9, which is not where you want to be. But once again, you kind of roll the dice with them as a team that's going to, the margin for error is small playing a team that's just like you in the first round. And then like matchup dependent, like you don't want Auburn and you don't want Duke, that's for sure. And you don't probably want Houston in the first round or in the second round if you're Creighton. Those matchups seem very, 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 very difficult for them. But anybody outside of that who's on the 1 or on the Tennessee probably doesn't feel very good either. Those are potential 1 seeds at this point. I just eliminated like all the 1 seeds. But anyway, like the top 8 teams in the country, I don't know that it's like a foregone conclusion that Creighton would lose that game either way. So anyway, you've probably lost your opportunity, but what they did do was a great solid for the Big East. Thank you, Creighton, probably allowing Xavier into the NCAA tournament. Thank you, Creighton.
They needed it more.
Exactly.
Type of game.
And so you laid over and you just fell on the sword for them. Sean Miller should be thanking Greg McDermott. That's what happened on Saturday. That's how I would describe it anyway.
Creighton Gonzaga first round 8-9 matchup. You can write it in ink.
I don't want that.
You can write it in ink.
I don't want that. Well, I don't want that. Let's pick another one. Pick somebody else.
Vanderbilt.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take my chances with that one. Not the Gonzaga one. Like Creighton Gonzaga are going to end up. They do. Evan Mayakawa is doing the whole like who's underseeded, who's overseeded type of thing right now. Like Gonzaga consistently comes up as a team that because of their resume is going to be underseeded. And then you have the whole Nemhard thing too. It just doesn't feel great. He would have 19 assists in that game. There would be nothing that he'd be dribbling crazily everywhere and spinning and throwing passes. I just don't want to deal with that. I don't want that. Jeff writes in.
Hi, Jeff.
Kalkbrenner is Patrick Ewing. Got it. Well, he's going to have the same amount of defensive players of the year as him.
He's going to have the same number of titles, NBA titles as him too, Connor.
Zach writes in.
Hi, Zach.
Finally, someone else agreed with me, Happer, that Carry On is an awful movie. Yes. Yeah, I got you. Going back to that conversation.
There was like a 72-hour period where that was like, oh my gosh, this is the best movie ever. And then people who don't live their life on Netflix meandered over to Netflix and started watching it and going, what is this? Is okay. I folded my laundry during it. Great.
Yep.
I will not remember it in 90 minutes.
No.
Some other movies, Connor.
Yeah, thank you. Please.
Inside Out 2.
No.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
No.
Did your wife watch Wicked and you entered the room accidentally?
She watched it. I never entered the room.
Okay.
She was surprised to learn that I had never seen, really, nor heard of Wicked. I was like, what is Wicked? What is... She's like, Wicked? You don't know about Wicked? I'm like, I've heard the word before. I don't know what that movie is.
You've heard of The Wizard of Oz, though, yes?
Yeah. So this is about...
I guess, have you seen The Wizard of Oz?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. She gave me the... It's a movie that came out before 2020. You're like, I saw most movies that came out before 20. That's not true. But she explained to me that it's about the Wicked Witch is...
How did the Wicked Witch become the Wicked Witch?
The Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah.
Okay.
Moana.
We're doing a lot of origin stories these days.
They're hot. I mean, catch up. There's Wicked Part 2 coming out.
Okay.
This Christmas. Let's see. Moana 2. Probably not you.
I saw Moana 1.
Okay.
Moana 1 is awesome.
I haven't even seen Moana 2 yet.
I love Moana.
Waiting for Disney Plus. Beetlejuice. Did you see the Beetlejuice sequel?
Beetlejuice happened again?
Beetlejuice.
Okay. No. I don't think I saw Beetlejuice 1, but I get it. I think I know what's happening.
I just love your rationale.
I do.
I think I get it. I don't need to see it.
Yeah.
Did you see Ryan Gosling in The Fall Guy? That's your guy?
Oh, that would have been the most likely movie that I've seen but even that, no, I never saw it.
Well, it's on Peacock.
I should get points because I almost watched it a couple times. I think I get points for that.
I don't.
I thought about watching it more than once.
Okay.
So I think that earns something.
It would have been the highest grossing movie of 1995.
It definitely would have been. Come on, give me some actors, put them in a cauldron, and stir it up.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Stuff blows up.
I love it.
They
That
love each
sounds awesome.
other.
That
There's a
sounds
Taylor
awesome.
Swift song. It's fine.
All right. You give me more movies when as we go on throughout the show today. Sam McKewon's going to join us at 1. The Blue Jays back in action tomorrow at Seton Hall. How about this? John Bishop and friends, 6:00 tip-off.
Hello.
That means John gets back from the East Coast at like 1 a.m. instead of 2 a.m. Or 2 a.m. instead of 3. Whatever it was, 1 hour or 2 hours earlier. So great news for John Bishop.
That's all he can ask for.
Unfortunately, he might be landing in the middle of a whiteout blizzard.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So we'll see if that works out for him tomorrow night. Creighton, obviously, would not be good to lose at Seton Hall, although they give St. John's a run over the weekend. People have been giving St. John's a run recently. Fascinating. Before
poll question going up on Happer Show: have people been giving St. John's a run lately? Is that how you want it?
Sure. That's how I said it. So yeah, that counts. A couple comments on Creighton. Whopper. Actually, this is not about Creighton. I thought it was going to be. My favorite part of Carry On was that they mentioned he was a high school track star, as if him running around an airport was the least believable part of the movie.
We explained it. He's a track star.
Nick, this is on Creighton. Feel bad for the kid, but things went immediately south when Miller came into the game. Has looked lost all year, and it's 4-on-5. Yeah, it's not good. Like he in the home game before that, the DePaul game, like he came in and he hustled and he made some plays, and then he got one wide open 3 and he missed it. Like you feel bad because it feels like he's doing things the right way, right? Like he is making hustle plays and effort plays when he gets opportunities, but he can't live on just that, especially when you have his counterpart in Jason Green. Like he does those things and is a really good defender and doesn't give you a lot offensively. So you need Mason to be what he has been, and he's not. He's not. I would. I don't know if yips is a bad word, but the guy's shooting like 12% from 3 this year.
You don't see it in basketball.
He's like a 45% career 3-point shooter.
The vibes with him are atrocious, but the vibes with this team right now are teetering for me.
Really?
I mean, you're more locked into it than I am. It just seems like they have a lot of holes that they don't normally have. And I know they've had some injuries, and on any given night,
Well, they're definitely not as good as they were the last 2 years.
Sure. And maybe my brain is comparing it to that.
They're just not as talented as they have been the last 2 years.
But
I don't know.
Stephen Ashworth is always on the floor.
There's sick, injured, the whole thing.
Yeah.
No, but I think they'll be okay. I wouldn't be surprised to see them win a couple games in New York and win, matchup dependent, one or more in the NCAA tournament, but they're going to be there. So they put themselves in position to do that. All right, back after this on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. right, from the Twitter here, Zelle is triggered.
The banking app?
No.
Okay.
On the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed, please discuss Creighton's best win. Also, never compare 11. Just probably didn't have enough characters to say Kalkbrenner, right?
Definitely. He respects him, clearly.
With Patrick Ewing, a number 1 draft pick, a national champion, and in the Hall of Fame. Also actually averaged a double-double for a couple of years in college as a 7-footer. I apologize.
Address the allegations, Connor.
Okay. Well, I don't know what Creighton's best win has anything to do with anything, but he is the winningest Creighton basketball player of all time. He has the most NCAA tournament wins. He went to an Elite Eight.
Well, Patrick Ewing went to a title game, and he won it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What do we think Creighton's best win is here?
This year? Well, I guess it's
number
probably,
one Kansas.
Yeah, I mean it's probably not that anymore. I mean, are we asking like how things have aged?
Sure. UConn, Marquette,
St. John's. They
beat
them. Yeah, I don't know what that has to do with it. People that just like to get. I think people are underselling Ryan Kalkbrenner's importance to the Big East Conference and to obviously Creighton. That's all.
So he's just tall or more than that?
I would say more.
More.
I would say more.
Okay.
Yep. He's about to be a all Big East selection for the 3rd time in his career.
I wish you could do that
He's
on
about
Prize Picks.
He's about to be a 4-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year.
4 times.
Yeah, Patrick Ewing did that.
Patrick Ewing was in Space Jam.
Yes. Don't think Ryan Kalkbrenner was.
He could be the Sean Bradley type if they were to make a 3rd Space Jam movie.
That's true. Maybe they should do that.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be awesome. By the way, speaking of Creighton quickly, wanted to give a shout out here. Shout out to the Creighton women's seniors who went out last night. 2 conference losses, by the way, this year, both to the University of Connecticut. They'll be the 2 seed in the Big East tournament. They sent out their seniors with a win last night at home against Villanova. So shout out to the core, Morgan Molly, Lauren Jensen, Molly Mogensen, Mallory Brake.
And our own Josh Peterson.
Josh Bishop.
That's what we're calling him now.
Whoa.
He calls Creighton games. It's Josh Bishop.
Josh Bishop. That's awesome. And, of course, the other seniors like Sydney Galladay and Jamie Horan get thrown into the conversation as well. An all-timer, an all-time class there for the Creighton women. 2,000 points for Morgan Molly. 2,000 career points for Lauren Jensen as well. 2 of the best, 5 or 10 players in Creighton women's basketball history. Been together for a long, long time, and we'll see how it ends up in the NCAA tournament for them. But shout out to them as they go 16-2 in the league. Creighton did this year.
Sounds right.
The women's sorry, I'm messing with the microphone right now. 16-2, and they finish it off with a win against Villanova last night. Once again, the 2 seed in the conference tournament coming up. This week. You kidding me? We got conference tournaments coming up?
Yeah, Creighton won't play until Saturday.
How many buys do they get?
I don't know. What their bracket
it's not an
like.
overly big conference, so they probably don't have too many buys.
They'll play Providence or Georgetown, the 7-10 winner.
They've beaten everybody else that's not named UConn twice this year. Not that they haven't had close games in there, but there's an expectation, I guess, that comes along with that. Hey, by the way, speaking of women's basketball, did you happen to see the conundrum with South Carolina and Texas this weekend?
I didn't. I don't know what this is.
All right, so South Carolina and Texas tied atop the SEC in the women's basketball standings this year.
Wow.
And they both beat each other.
Okay.
And so and all the other tiebreakers worked out. It got all the way down to a coin flip. And during halftime of another game, Greg Sankey came on the television Yes, Greg Sankey came on the television during the halftime report of another game, and he was standing. I have no idea where he was. Maybe in the SEC offices, but there was all the SEC team banners hanging behind him, and he was standing there in a suit. And the people doing the halftime show said, "Greg, flip that coin." And he didn't really say anything. And he flipped the coin. On one side of the coin was South Carolina Gamecock, and on the other side was Texas, Longhorn.
They had a coin made?
They had a coin made. And they...
Okay.
What?
What happens to that coin afterwards?
I hope it gets sold for NIL money.
What was his coin flipping technique?
So, seemed a little nervous and wanted to make he wanted to make crystal clear that there was no nefariousness, because this is a situation that has a potential for absolute disaster.
If one of these teams wants to drag their feet and make this difficult, they absolutely could have.
And so I'm glad you mentioned this, Josh, because there is a technique that comes along with this, right? In the NFL, when they do the coin toss before the game, they let it hit the ground.
Yeah.
Right?
We're probably not doing that here in a televised coin toss.
Traditional coin flips. How would you do a coin flip if you were entrusted with this coin flip? Flip it with the right? Flip it with your right thumb. Catch it with that same hand, and then put it on top of the other hand, right? But what if he had, and that's exactly what Greg Sankey did.
Okay.
For the record.
Is that agreed upon beforehand? Like, okay, this is how, is one of the teams negotiating? Like, no, you got to do it this way. Like,
I don't know. And he was a little bit nervous about the flip too, because when he flipped it, he didn't really flick the thumb. He kind of just threw it up.
Oh, did he limp wrist it?
It kind of.
I have not watched it. Clearly, I have not watched the video of this.
It didn't flip. It just didn't flip at a very high rate, right? But the coin goes out of the screen.
Sure.
Conspiracy. And then it comes back down. He catches it cleanly with the right, the same hand that he flipped it with, and then slapped it atop of his other hand to reveal a South Carolina logo, which awarded the Gamecocks the #1 seed in the upcoming SEC women's basketball tournament.
The ratings darling South Carolina Gamecocks. Interesting.
But the coin toss
I don't know.
is incredible. I mean, it's just fantastic.
So
we have so many teams in these GD conferences, and there's no way to know who's better than the other ones. And so we just have to flip coins now.
This is the John Bishop nightmare scenario.
Correct.
And Greg Sankey, if you're gonna put this coin toss on TV, you have to be more of a showman about it. Like, the flip onto the top of his hand was very, whatever.
I think he should have worn a half South Carolina, half Texas suit or something like that.
Nebranoy.
Or you could have let it land on the floor. Or you could have caught it and then revealed, if you catch it, right, the coin is facing a certain side up, and then you reveal the coin as it lies on your hand. It would have said the opposite of what it said when you flip the coin on the other hand.
Sure.
There is that. You do have that option. So really, we're not talking about a coin flip at all here. We're talking about the corrupt actions of Greg Sankey. My personal friend, Greg Sankey.
That's right.
My close personal friend, Greg Sankey. I have his phone number. I should call him.
Hey, so
Greg, what do you, you know the proper coin flip etiquette.
What do you do?
Just hold it out there, But a lot was decided via the coin flip yesterday.
Okay, so I'm frantically looking for this right now.
You can't find it?
There was.
Would you like me to just put it on the stream?
I've seen the Greg Sankey video. There was a conference, I believe it was a lower level men's conference, that they had a 3-way tie at the top, and then
a coin flip tournament,
and then a 3-way tie for the 8 seed.
Love it.
Gosh, I can't find it right now. I'm pretty sure it was a men's conference.
Okay.
Here it was.
Okay,
the Sun Belt.
The Sun Belt did what?
South Alabama, James Madison, and Arkansas State all finished Troy also is a 4-way tie atop the Sun Belt at 13-5. And then Georgia Southern, Georgia State, and Old Dominion and Louisiana, those 4 teams finished 8-10 in the conference, and they had to break those ties somehow.
With a coin flip?
I would assume so.
I saw nothing about what happened in the Sun Belt.
And the Sun Belt, now, makes it even more strange. They have one of those weirdo brackets where
they get 100 buys.
You get 100 buys.
I love it. Conferences are so screwed up.
South Alabama and James Madison got the 1, 2, 3, 4 quintuple bye, and Arkansas State and Troy had to settle for quadruple buys.
Awesome.
Incredible.
I love it. Conference realignment has screwed up this entire thing, but honestly, it's so weird that we'll just go along with it. More flipping coins. They could have made a whole show out of this. Honestly, if they would have done the show today at like 11 o'clock or like 9 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and they just put a half hour, they block out a half hour on the SEC network, and Greg Sankey doesn't do the actual flip until the 28th minute of the program, that is like the most watched thing on TV today.
Do that.
Absolutely.
Do that.
All right, we're back after this to finish out the hour here on 1620 The Zone.
Upon further review, the host point is good. The Connor Happer Show returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone.
Here's another Energy Media radio station you may want to put in your presets. Check out Sweet 98.5, Omaha's workday favorites for hits from the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and today. An Omaha legend, Sweet 98.5.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind. Like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. But prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control. Yikes! So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
All right, Sam McKewon is going to join us here in just a couple minutes here. Fred Hoiberg opined today. He said, I have an opinion.
Did he? Do we have audio of that? That'd be great.
That would be awesome for that bit.
It would.
But no, he just stated his opinion. And he said that last week was one of the toughest weeks in his coaching career.
Oh.
I mean, it's rough. Dropping 46 points and taking the L at home against Michigan and then losing to Minnesota and playing the way they did for the first, 25 minutes of that game. Pretty bad. I mean, all of a sudden, Nebraska at home this year lost games to Minnesota, Michigan, Maryland, USC, Rutgers. I mean, it has not been
that we're protecting the vault.
Yeah, it has not necessarily been that so far this year. Well, you only have one opportunity to kind of correct that down the stretch here. Baseball roundup. I wanted to do that real quick.
Baseball.
So Nebraska beats Sam Houston and then takes a 5-0 lead on LSU, but loses.
Yeah. Oh.
And then loses to K-State yesterday, where I believe a Lincoln East grad got him for a home run. AJ Vasco got him. K-State's a pretty good team, by the way.
I've heard this from multiple people.
Creighton goes there on Wednesday, theoretically, if weather holds up. I want to mention this early with Nebraska, just so we could kind of put a pin in it and keep an eye on it. Nebraska, in the 2 SEC powerhouse games that they've played this year, Vanderbilt and LSU.
Not Dub.
Feels like they've been pretty locked in for those games, right? Mm-hmm. They are seeing like this is going to be the kind of team. Last year's team hit the long ball pretty well. I don't think this team has quite as much power, but you're looking like 1-9. Can we grind out at bats? Can we take extra bases? Can we make pitchers work? Can we get deep into bullpens? And can we get timely hitting? Nebraska's had all of those in the 2 big games that they've played this year. I think they've lacked an arm or all of the arms of that quality in like all of the other games. So we talk about how Nebraska, oftentimes it feels like maybe looks a little hard at the jersey of the team that's on the other bench. I sense a little of that with Nebraska baseball at the moment. I sense a little bit of that with Nebraska's got to it's a similar setup to basketball
and football.
They have to be better than the sum of their parts. They're not like super talented, right? They got some things that they're good at, but really they need to do it as a team, which means grind out at bats, get timely hitting, like all those things that I mentioned before, take extra bases, piece the pitching together, all those things, especially if they're going to be without, McConaughey for any stretch of time here. So,
especially if you want to host a regional.
Yeah.
There's only 16 of those.
It's hard. Like, I mean, they probably had to do a little bit more in this early portion of the season in order to get that. They probably didn't do it. And that's doesn't have to be a death sentence for you, but you still want to play good baseball. And they got to lock in, right? It just they strike out too many times, to be comfortable at this stage of the game. Although I will say this, like in that LSU game, a lot of LSU fans were there, a lot of Red was there. It sounded like an awesome environment. It was basically sold out.
Oh yeah, because this was in Arizona.
This is in Frisco.
Texas. Okay.
Yeah. Really, really good environment. So that should help get you the sense of like, It's not going to be like that every game. There's going to be a bunch of Midwestern games here and Big Ten games where you play in front of 87 people.
And it's too cold to make any noise.
I
don't want to move.
So,
but I'm here.
Lock in for the big ones. I mean, Nebraska, couldn't get it done in the midweek last year, right? Those are the games that don't have a lot of stakes attached to them.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want that theme to persist. Creighton takes 2 out of 3 from College of Charleston. They get K-State on the road on Wednesday. And Omaha baseball, they lost 3 out of 4 to Kansas. But did you see the Kansas student section? Yes, that's right. The Kansas baseball student section.
Oh,
they
I
put
thought
out
we were
a
talking
whole.
about like at the Fog or something.
They were there all weekend for 4 against Omaha. What do we have to do to get baseball student sections popping here in our fine state with our 3 Division I programs?
Probably need some better weather.
Helpful, but I mean they're in Kansas.
Yeah, I guess they're in Kansas. Yeah.
It's not like it's 88 degrees down there. Like it's.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
They packed it in. They get some nice weather this weekend. They packed it in for Omaha, and were loud and rowdy. Made a difference. They did a whole hype video afterwards. I mean, looked awesome. Sounded awesome. Well, I think the KU broadcast had some like audio problems. It's
sure
not. Just kind of some questionable stuff coming out from that over the weekend. But I'm here. If any of our local schools want to create awesome student section environments, entice the kids to come to baseball games, and then ultimately follow through on doing so, I would love to see it.
Next 8 are at home for the Mavs.
Take a page out of KU's book.
Yeah.
Why not?
Steal it. Just steal it.
That's your baseball update. Doesn't look particularly promising for baseball in Omaha in Lincoln during the midweek this week.
Seems doubtful.
Looks like we'll have enough in the temperature category to get us to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All right, we're back with Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald after this on 1620 The Zone.
Brent Rasmussen of Mortgage Specialists.
Over the last couple of years, home buying may have seemed like being on a small boat on a very wavy ocean. First it's down, then it's up, down again and up again. Lather, rinse, repeat. Well, here's the good news. Rates are much better than a year or even a month ago. Right now, you'll find that some houses have had the for sale sign in the front yard a little longer. Some sellers
All right, welcome back. 1 o'clock hour, the Connor Happer Show. You're on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald joins us now via the hotline. Sam, hello. How are you?
Hey, man. How are you doing?
Good. You got the are you all locked in for this whatever wind experience that we're going to see apparently tomorrow night?
High winds. Yeah, you know what? I was saying it's a game time decision. God's going to let us know if it's going to be sideways rain, blizzard, or just wind.
It could be anything.
Apparently, it could be anything. It's a little bit of it's exciting. It's like, you actually hope it's just wind because sideways rain and snow, that's just terrible for travel. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, we're ready. I don't know if Lincoln always seems to get hit not quite as hard as Omaha. And so we'll see what happens. There's almost like there's a dome over Lincoln.
People have been saying this for a long time. I don't know if it's been proven out to be true or false or somewhere in between. But
there's people golfing today. I'm driving by Miracle Hill because I'm going to our office at the World Herald. God, there's people out on the course. They're not gonna be out there tomorrow.
Yeah, no. Those people are like who play golf though on like the first day possible to play golf. Like, I don't know. I can't get quite there. I'm sure it feels great, but I'm not there yet.
No, I'm working, so I wasn't getting out there today. But I got an email from Lincoln Parks and Rec. I live in Lincoln, telling me which courses were open. I'm like, oh boy. And I love golf. Not everybody that you talk to does, but I do. And so I watch. I'll watch, golf in the weekend, the Golf Channel, LPGA. I'll watch any golf. I mean, it doesn't make any difference. PGA, LPGA, senior, European. I'm just ready to hit, swing the stick. So,
hey, you're a movie buff. How did you, and you're currently talking to a person who I think we tried to do the math. I think I saw one movie that came out in 2024 in 2024. Okay. And it wasn't a good one. It was a Netflix movie with Jason Bateman, and it was terrible.
Carry on.
You got it.
I saw that.
What did you think? That this is the one thing that we could commiserate on.
Good car chase.
Yeah.
Just fighting a car. That was about the only thing about that movie I'll remember.
Yes, they had a car chase and a car wreck in that movie that was sort of memorable. So what did I miss in movies in 2024 with the Oscars being last night?
Well, I think it was trending in the direction of it for the last 3-4 weeks. And there's reasons for that are almost extraneous to what was on screen. Conan O'Brien kind of referred to a couple of those situations last night with AI and with tweets. And so there were some things going on that may have shaped the vote very late in the process. And nor is a movie I saw. I don't know that I would describe it as a movie for everybody. It is pretty good, and has kind of a interesting, surprising, good ending. Kind of not exactly sure how it's all going to end up. I think I put my predictions out there. I thought Conclave would win. I think Conclave is beautifully made, and just there's maybe it lost some steam at the end because it's been out for a while and. It was made by a studio, and it's not a plucky independent film. I'm not trying to knock Anora at all, but Anora had a good story to it, like backstory of these guys came together and they shot it on a shoestring budget. And Conclave, anybody who's seen that knows that was not shot, on the cheap. And Dune was great, but Dune's not for everybody. Anybody who's seen Dune, knows it's not for everyone. I love it. But it's not for everybody. And then, I saw quite a few of the movies on the list. I thought there were some really good ones. And it wasn't Oppenheimer. I don't know that there was an Oppenheimer in the list. That's probably why Oppenheimer won last year and would win most years when it was up for Best Picture. But, I thought it was all right. I thought it was a good night had by everybody. And I will say this: the movie with Kieran Culkin is good. It's called A Real Pain. He's good in it. It's not very long. It's like 90 minutes. I think it was on Prime. I can't remember where I saw it. I didn't see it in the theater. That was a pretty good small movie, and it wasn't complex or anything. It's about two cousins, and they're just different people. And but they love each other. And Kieran Culkin legitimately is good in that movie. So
yeah,
if I was going to recommend one, that'd be the one I'd recommend.
Okay, good. That's a good rundown. Maybe I'll have undergo some of these movies in the coming weeks, but
there you go.
I never seem to get around to them. I don't know what it is. Sam, football wise, you were in your rewind, you sort of talked about the setup for year 3 or the reset, and how Rule went on all those shows last week and sort of described where he's at on some of these things. Could you characterize or describe the type of pressure or the type of urgency Matt Rule is about to take on going into this year 3 compared to his other year 3s, which people always draw those conclusions from the other ones?
Yeah, nobody supplies more pressure than he does on himself. I mean, Rule is an all-day kind of guy. He basically changed out his almost 2/3 of his coaching staff year 2 to year 3. That tells you something. It isn't just about what we would say or what the powers that be would say. I mean, my goodness, Matt Rule had a huge hand in hiring Troy Dannon. So it's not like Troy Dannon is Trev Albert, the Rule Scott Frost. That's not what this is. Rule puts an enormous amount of pressure on himself. He's that's just the way he's wired. And so, he's going to drive really hard at this. And I think what's going to be really important to watch is whether he can offshore some of that to Holgorsen. Honestly, I think Holgorsen and Eckler. I think part of what needs to happen is, Rule got that defense whipped into shape over 2 years. He and Tony White, credit Tony White too. But they needed to, because when he got there, that defense was not what he wanted. And, he builds his teams and his culture on defense. So I think it took a lot of energy to get that done and get it to where he wanted it to be. And I felt like the offense just didn't get quite that much, because I just don't think the coordinator that he had initially could really affect that level of change. So here's Holgorsen, and Holgorsen's been given free rein to say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done. And if anybody was listening to Rule talk on Turban Meyer last week, and I thought his comments with Meyer were a little bit better than McAfee. Pat McAfee's fine, but
not particularly organized.
Yeah, and Meyer just, I think any time that they talk to him, first of all, there's always this sense of well, this guy probably thinks he's better than I am.
Right.
Ira Meyer kind of gives that off. He
Definitely
gives off an air of that. And they're always kind of just trying to be kind of honest. They get honest with him, and they say things to him that they probably wouldn't say to other people, which makes him effective, even though he's not much of a question asker. So anyway, I thought Rule made some comments about just the urgency that's in place and the things that they need to get done, and the way that he looks at the process with Meyer that I think are illuminating. They're going to, as I described it in the rewind, if you remember those elementary school report cards where it said, needs improvement, meets expectations, exceeds expectations.
Yeah.
And the reality is Nebraska met expectations maybe in one and needs improvement in offense and special teams. And this is the team that's going to win 9 or 10. They can, but they got to take a big, big jump in those two categories. And some of that's going to fall on Holgorsen, and some of it's going to fall on Dylan. Dylan's got to become the guy that kind of drags everybody with him, and that means the offensive linemen and the receivers. And when something's not right on that offense, he's got to snap those guys too and say, hey, you know what? We're not doing that today. This is what we're doing. This is who we're going to be. So he has to take full control. I actually think he will, but he's got to. You've got to have some Tommy Armstrong in you, and Tommy could do that. Tommy was a guy that if you screwed around with the offense a couple possessions in a row, Tommy lets you know. And that's who Dylan needs to be. He needs to be a guy that puts up with nothing from the receivers or the backs or the line. And he's, Dylan's a really good guy. He's a good kid. And so it's going to be a little challenging for him, I think, to go to that, hey, you know what? Now I got to be kind of a jerk, because we need to win this football game, and I need you to come along with me. And that's the thing that I think he'll have to evolve in as the season goes on. His dad nobody was better than his dad at it. His dad had a PhD in it in college, because I saw it. because I covered those teams, and nobody was better than Dominic Rail at doing that. So he can ask his dad about how to get it done.
This felt like what they were doing on the first 2 years on defense was what they were doing, or what they were accomplishing was building toward, what they were eventually going to become, right? Like it felt like it was linear in a way. Now you've thrown this huge wrench into the offense, but there's still, the expectation is that there's a huge jump almost because of it. Like, is that a realistic expectation for the offense coming this year, given that you do have a couple building blocks, and the one key one is the one that you just mentioned.
Right.
Like, what do you think that jump looks like, even though it's sort of a reset as far as what you're doing on offense?
Well, you got to score. You got to score points. You have to find a way to get explosive plays, but you also have to play with what I would describe as a pace and tempo.
Yes.
And some of that is not no huddle or anything, but it's getting up to the line of scrimmage, making decisions quickly, getting back up to the line of scrimmage, making decisions quickly, and just playing with a pace and a tempo that's indicative of the best teams. And Nebraska can do that. They can do that. They do need to probably quicken up their no huddle tempo at times, I thought. But a lot of that is just, playing kind of with a leading edge. I thought the defense did that really well for most of last year, and certainly in the first year they did. That offense just never quite seized it often enough, in my opinion. They just they caught a little bit, and they were a little lackadaisical at times. Even last year at Indiana, and some of that at Indiana is, I think you got to take football first, and you got to let your offense dictate, and they didn't do that. But UCLA, once again, UCLA goes out and scores. Nebraska's kind of letting things get dictated to them. There was other moments late in the season where I thought it was getting dictated. I thought Nebraska took its foot off the gas pedal a little bit against Iowa in that second half. So there's little things that they've got to improve on, and then there's I think they'll have the playmakers. I think they just really need to. Everything's got to have an urgency and a detail and an aggression to it, similar to the defense, and then the special teams just has to be better. And we've talked about that many times. Eckler, in theory, has the hardest job, because there's things that Eckler ultimately can't really control, because some of it comes down to snapping and kicking and punting, and those are things that are fundamentally a little bit out of his control. It's like putting a club in the hand of a golfer. But I think Eckler will get the urgency up pretty quickly.
Sam, do you think Nebraska basketball will make the NCAA tournament?
Not at this moment. No, I think they're going to fall short. Now, to be clear, if they come out and win the next two games, I wouldn't be surprised. And I don't say that as me, someone trying to cover my own bases. I don't really think they know game to game exactly what they're going to get. And I don't think Fred knows. I think some of it at this point is it's on the players. They're going to Ohio State. If they fall behind 23-6, won't surprise me. If they find a way to win there, won't surprise me. The team's been a roller coaster all season long. It's had two identities. I think our beat writer Wilson Moore's done a real nice job of writing about that in most recent weeks. I do think they'll bring it against Iowa, because it's Iowa, and they don't like Iowa, and the fans don't either. And so, maybe they go win on Sunday, and, they're sitting there at 18-13, and, they probably got to go win two in Indy. That could happen. That'd probably be my largest prediction, Connor. At the end of this week, they're going to go 1-1. They're going to have to go to Indy and win two. They won't, and they'll go to the Crown or the NIT or whatever they go to. That's my hunch. They blew it. On Saturday they blew it, and they kind of know they did, and now they got a hard game. Ohio State ain't playing with house money. They're down to their last stack of chips too. They have to beat Nebraska in order to make the tournament. You better believe they're going to play hard.
Do you think quickly before I let you go, Sam, do you think if they don't make let's just say they don't make the NCAA tournament and they fall, which is what it's going to end up being, a spot or two or three short basically of the NCAA tournament. Can you still say at the end of the year that they got maybe what was about expected of this team to be right in the bubble conversation to play meaningful games in February and in March, or do you think I'm, manipulating the expectations after the fact too much with that?
No, I mean, honestly, if you said it before the season, then I think you're more than welcome to say it after, because I don't think this was as good of a team as last year. But there's also this sense of like, look, all you had to do down the stretch was beat a bad Penn State team on the road.
Yep.
Okay, there's only 9 people in the stands, though. And then you had to beat a bad Minnesota team at home on Stripeout Day. And you came out, you trailed by 19 with 15 minutes left. There's just no. I think that game on Saturday is the indictment. Penn State is what it is, but the game on Saturday is tough because you got all the things that going in your favor. Minnesota isn't a deep team; they're not very good. They're probably ripe to be blown out, even on the road. And now you let them come in and you let them get real comfortable. And then it's like you're trying to get them out of your favorite chair the rest of the game. And you get them out of that chair for about a half second, and then they get right back in it. And that's just got to drive a coach nuts, And Fred today, he was intense. Like he's really feeling it. He wants this team to get over the hump. I think he wants to get over the hump and get into the NCAA tournament again. They probably need that to go out and sell a new generation of transfers, because as it stands right now, what you're recruiting to is Braden Frager, Nick Janowski, Justin Bolus is a walk-on. I don't know exactly what he becomes next season, if he's a scholarship guy or not, and Rink Mast. And so you're going to have to put an entire basketball team around that. And Burke is a good player, but you got to put a whole basketball team around that. So it's going to be daunting if you're selling. Well, we got to the second round of the Crown.
Yeah,
it's just different.
Yeah.
So it's crucial that they finish strong here. I just don't know that they will.
Sam, thanks. Always appreciate it. Enjoy your week. Talk to you later.
Take care, man.
Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald. Yeah. It's hard to know what to expect. But as Fred Hoiberg said today, hey, man, like, as bad as it's been, you guys still have a chance. For whatever reason, you guys still have a chance because of the work that was done earlier in the season, a couple wins that you have on your resume at this point. You still have a chance. Coming back, I want to take a look at that bubble real quick and just talk about some of the teams that are on it. And once again, I made this point last week, like, oftentimes it's Nebraska fans' favorite thing to talk about how bad the team is, right? And like, this team's not an NCAA tournament team. But I will advise you, and we'll do this next, to look around. Look at some of the company that they're keeping at this point. Those other teams that are on the bubble ain't very good either.
It's a bad bubble this year.
It's a bad bubble every year. There's 100 billion teams that make the NCAA tournament. It also doubles as an excuse for me to have the conversation about how we shouldn't expand it. So
we're not going to, Connor.
No, we should not.
They said over the weekend we're not going to do this.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
For now.
Yep. Back after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, so we are watching the World Baseball Classic qualifier because it's a thing that's happening and it's on television. Brazil and Germany are playing each other.
Sure.
So while Sam was on, I peered up at the TV, and they were highlighting a person in the stands. What famous person would be in the stands for the Brazil-Germany World Baseball Classic qualifier in Tucson?
It's got to be one of two people.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Take your guess.
David Hasselhoff.
No.
Dirk Nowitzki.
No. But it turns out one of the pitchers who was pitching, the pitcher that was pitching in the game, his name, Jaden Agassi. All right. Jaden Agassi is a member of the German baseball team, and he is, of course, the son of, Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf. And Steffi Graf was at the baseball game in Tucson.
Wow.
Yep. They didn't.
What a Mad Lib.
Yes. And unfortunately for young Jaden, I watched him get rocked for a couple outs there. 2/3 of an inning, gave up 3 hits, 4 runs. All of them earned, walked 2. Not great. But Steffi Graf was there, so that was cool for the Agassi family.
What an achievement.
Did you remember that Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf were married?
No, I'm looking through Andre Agassi's personal life section of his wiki.
Mm-hmm.
Dated Barbara Streisand.
Whoa. Are you serious?
That's what it says here on the wiki.
How much older is she than him?
She is a ripe.
She's got to be 80, isn't she?
82.
Yeah, I was going to say. Andre Agassi is not more than like 60, right?
Wow, this is a very long wiki. He is 54.
Okay. Oh my God. What happened?
Hello.
Dang. I did not know that.
And now I've lost.
I did not know that. That's the first time I'm hearing about this just now.
Just want to know about his children.
As I got one with Steffi Graf at least. So there you go. There's your World Baseball Classic update of the day. So bubble teams. The bubble this year has turned into a war of attrition. How much can we test the nerve of that selection committee? We are going to anger you so much, and we're going to continue to dare you to not put us in the NCAA tournament. And yet all the bracketologists, they never take the bait, Josh. They never take the bait. They just keep putting these teams in the NCAA tournament.
What do you want them to? I mean, they have to put
somebody teams in the NCAA tournament.
I guess they could do more work and look at the lower level conferences, but
no,
probably won't be doing that.
They don't have the metrics for it because they don't play anybody. It's all about the metrics. Meanwhile, so the team that is the funniest to me, Oklahoma. Do you know what Oklahoma's conference record is this year? And mind you, they are in the Southeastern Conference.
The best conference ever.
The best conference ever with 3 national championship caliber teams. Yeah, tell me. Go ahead. Say it out loud.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I know that for comparison's sake, it is them and Nebraska as the last 2 teams in this tournament right now.
Okay. Oklahoma's SEC record is 4-12.
Cool.
I know. I had to. Yeah.
Shut me.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't be 4-12.
4-12. You can be 4-12, Josh, and still make the NCAA tournament. They've lost 7 out of their last 8 games. Their one win was last Saturday against Mississippi State. And because they're in the Southeastern Conference, everybody in the conference's KenPom score is incredible because of your guilty by association. This is absurd what we have done. And we want to put more teams into the NCAA tournament.
Oh my God.
More teams. Put more teams that look exactly like Oklahoma in the NCAA tournament. Think about the absurdity.
Oklahoma is riding a Battle for Atlantis title to the NCAA tournament.
Oklahoma started 13-0. So that's the story with them.
Arizona, Louisville to win that tournament.
Once again, Josh, let me just make it very clear to you their entire season.
They beat Michigan.
They started 13-0, and since then they are 4-12. That's since January 4th. Josh. 4-12 is also their record in the SEC. They're 17-12 in the year. They went through non-con undefeated. They beat Michigan, like you said. They beat Louisville on a neutral court. They beat Arizona on a neutral court. They beat Providence on a neutral court. Those are all like nice wins. Oklahoma State on a neutral court. They were good.
I know what you're thinking. You're probably yelling at your radio. Who they must have knocked off one of the giants in the SEC.
Incorrect. They've beaten only South Carolina, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State. Vanderbilt's a tournament team. Mississippi State's probably a tournament team.
But not one of the high-rated teams.
Arkansas is very much on the bubble. So those are the teams that are just like right on the edge right now. Teams that look just like that. So what I'm saying is, Nebraska fans, you don't have to hate yourself that much. You could still direct your hate at other things. How could you let a team like this into the NCAA tournament? They stink. They haven't won anything of significance in the year of our Lord 2025. I'll remind you, it's March.
This is March.
It's the third month of the year. They haven't done anything but their net rating is good because they play in the SEC.
Trips.
And they love losing to good teams. It's like it's amazing what you could do if you simply just lose to good teams.
Trips with a little stat for us on the YouTube stream. Want to know their non-con strength of schedule?
Yeah,
Connor?
Tell me, Trips.
320th on Ken Palm.
Holy crap! Is that true?
Got to be towards the bottom.
Non-con SOS. Indeed, 320. That seems hard. That's hard to believe. I mean, they beat Michigan.
Yeah,
and they played Michigan, Arizona, and Louisville. Those are all like top 6 seeds in the tournament.
They won their SEC ACC challenge game against Georgia Tech. I know the ACC is very down this year, but they still won it.
Yeah. I mean, the other team that was very fun to make fun of a couple weeks ago, and still, frankly, is North Carolina.
Yeah, it's not going well over there.
Did you know? Well, it actually is now.
Oh,
it's going a lot better.
That's good.
Now they're taking advantage of garbage ACC. But by the way, the other thing that North Carolina is involved in right now is that everyone's really mad at ESPN because they're going to Chapel Hill for game day. And North Carolina is not good this year, but obviously Duke is very good.
It's Duke, North Carolina.
It's Duke, North Carolina, once again.
We cannot live in a society where people care where ESPN's College Game Day basketball show goes.
It's just a talking point.
Calm down.
But there is, the point is, there's a lot of other things. What they're saying is, why do we have to do the Red Sox and the Yankees just because they're playing? Why do we have to do North Carolina and Duke just because they're playing? There's other things that are out there, and there's more that's on the line. But meanwhile, North Carolina, who after losing to Clemson was 14-11 and 7-6, and people were still telling us that they're an NCAA tournament team, despite what everything had said, have now won 5 games in a row, all against bad teams, but they have one big pelt left to potentially put on the wall, and they're feeling good about themselves. They do play Duke coming up on Saturday on their home floor, which could be, whatever no-sit Sunday is. That's that for North Carolina. But the point here being, all these teams have horrible, horrible, horrible holes in their resume. Some have been guilty of such atrocities as losing at home to Minnesota.
Ooh, have to be a damned moron to do that.
How about North Carolina's version of that? Losing at home to Stanford.
Cool.
Yeah, it's not what you want, Josh. Oklahoma's atrocity. Let's see. Losing at home to LSU.
Not a strong school.
No.
It's not women's hoops.
No. They don't have Big Bird as their coach. LSU is 3-13 in the SEC. They suck.
They do. Wow.
But their metrics aren't nearly as bad as those other two that I mentioned because they are in the SEC. So many atrocities have been committed. But these are still the teams that will find their way into the NCAA tournament. Welcome it. Welcome it.
Embrace the
and fight for it,
bubble.
right? Like fight for it. All I see is Nebraska fans saying, this is garbage. I think we just need to probably fire the coach and just move on from this crap. There's still a lot on the line. Number one, there's 2 regular season games left, and one of them is huge tomorrow night. But what I'm saying is, go look around at some of the other teams in the country, like I just mentioned, and go pull holes in their resumes. You know?
Yeah.
Talk. Give me the talking points. Tell America how if you put North Carolina into the tournament or if you put Oklahoma into the tournament instead of Nebraska, you'll be committing basketball racism. You'll be saying,
hello,
Nebraska. You're the only reason you're not including Nebraska in that conversation is because their name is Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Keep saying things like this. You have to fight for it. It's a PR war, just as it is for the college football playoff. It's a PR and analytics war. You're losing the analytics game because you're not in the Southeastern Conference, but you could still win the PR game.
Don't be a lazy tournament committee.
Pick your coach, Fred Hoiberg, Hubert Davis. I think I know my answer. That's what I'd be saying on the internet all the time for the next 2 weeks.
Fire up the scrolls.
Yeah, it's time. Albino Tornado writes in.
Hi, Albino Tornado.
An early opinion, but we'll accept it here.
Sure.
If you're not in the top half of your conference, your peer group, no at-large berth for you. At some point, most deserving deserves some crumbs from best. Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with that, but the system is the system at this point. Like, right, they're going to reward the teams who play tough schedules, regardless of if you win games in those schedules. And by playing tough schedules, we just mean being in the correct conference on a given year.
That's right, Colin.
And this year is the Southeastern Conference. Because teams all across the country, mid-major programs, high-major programs that for whatever reason don't have great schedules, they go out and they challenge themselves in the non-con. But it's never going to be enough to overcome what the majority of your schedule says. And if you're playing 20 conference games, that's 2/3 of your schedule.
Oh, 2 of those games were against Doug Gottlieb? No, thank you.
Right? No, yeah, you're out. Mississippi Valley State, what's their KenPom score? 690? Sorry, can't play. You're not allowed to go to the NCAA tournament. But
bid league.
I wish it was a little bit more like that. Like I wish it was more of, I wish, and there really shouldn't be, but I keep hearing people say, I keep seeing people say, Drake, they should be okay if they happen to slip up and lose an Arch Madness next week. They should be okay.
Wouldn't risk it.
Why are we having that conversation? They're freaking 27-3. They're 27-3.
Yeah, 1 bid league.
They beat K-State. They beat Vanderbilt. They're 27-3, and people still have the gall to say they should be okay if they lose in Arch Madness. No, they should definitely be okay.
Ben McCollum and them boys, you don't know what they're going to do.
They should have nothing to worry about this week, and yet here we are. And meanwhile, we're talking about the team who's 4-12 in the SEC saying, "Oh yeah, they're in control of their own destiny." Give me a freaking break. I hate this. And meanwhile, we want to let more teams into the NCAA tournament. It'd just be more Oklahomas. It'd be more North Carolinas. It'd be less teams like Drake, teams that are deserving to absolutely and Drake will be in the NCAA tournament.
I don't know, Connor. It's a television
show. They better win Arch Madness.
What would people tune into? Drake against Crap State or Nebraska, Oklahoma in Dayton?
Is neither an option.
Game of the century.
Yeah. You think Johnny Rodgers would show up?
If you asked.
You think the Jet would show up?
I think he would if someone asked him to.
Jet, listen. We need you in Dayton. Gonna have to put him in the aisle. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You have to put him in the aisle.
Quickly before
Don't hate yourself too much. That's the point of this conversation, okay?
Quickly before we go to break, you omitted something. I imagine you didn't know it because you were watching a TV on mute. One of the people who got a hit off of Jaden Agassi,
a.k.a. Steffi Graf and Andre Agassi's son.
That's right. Lucas Ramirez.
Who's Lucas?
The son of Manny Ramirez.
Wow, look at this. Who said this wasn't good? I'd rather watch this than Nebraska, Oklahoma in a play-in game.
Hell yeah.
All right, we're back after this with the polls. We'll tell you what to watch on 1620 The Zone.
He gives you the latest sports news, analysis, and commentary in a clean, concise, and disease-free way.
See there?
What a relief. Thank God.
Wonderful.
It's the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
All right, so the polls at Happer Show on the J-Tech Construction Zone Twitter feed. We start here. This is a good one from Young Matt.
A good one from Young Matt.
Are the sound designers the kidneys of a movie? You should have kept going with that. All the body parts are the...
What's the spleen?
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like
the ass of a movie.
I like the seeds of that that bit there. Yes, let's just say yes, for lack of a better suggestion. 78% say yes. Good one.
I would agree.
Did you know that dogs.com takes you straight to PetSmart's website? No.
I had no clue.
I did not until I found that out this morning on the crossover.
Genius marketing.
88% said no. Which chancellor is more likely to get in a celebratory trash can? Rodney Bennett
question.
Or Father Hendrickson? With Father Hendrickson, yeah, like chancellor adjacent, right? He's the, yeah. I don't know. I don't have. I don't know.
I don't have a read on either of these gentlemen.
I'll say Mr. Bennett. Is he a doctor? Is he a doctor of something? Doctor.
I assume he is. I couldn't find out.
54% say Roddy Bennett. Was Bo Pelin down to clown? Yeah, Bo was down to clown. He was.
You keep saying, he brought that cat out. He brought that cat out.
He liked to have fun from time to time. You get him in a closed door situation. He's actually a good hang.
Once he clears the room of microphones, he's a good hang.
Absolutely. He generally did not care for had a distrust toward the media. But you get those sickos out of there and he's fine. 64% say yes. Have people been giving St. John's a run lately?
Sure seems that way.
53% say yes. And finally, did you know that Andre Agassi dated Barbara Streisand in the early 90s?
I didn't. Many people are telling us that he talked about it in his autobiography, which is also very good.
Definitely something that many read. I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe it was a very popular book.
I don't know.
I did not until just now. They also have a multiple decade age gap.
Yes, they do.
Something that is not totally uncommon, but usually flipped. The man is usually
it's
older.
An old dirty man.
Yeah,
like
breaking
Dane
all
Cook.
the norms.
Yeah,
63% say no. Those are the polls, Josh. What are we watching tonight?
Well, it's slim pickings tonight. It is Big Monday, and ESPN has the following offerings: Wake at number 2, Duke.
Okay.
6 o'clock start there. Unranked Kansas at number 4, Houston.
Hey, that's Kansas you're talking about.
8 o'clock.
Not unranked Kansas.
Yes, people. They are unranked.
Well, did you see Bill Self put out a statement? Bill Self put out a statement that it was absurd.
Did it read like a Tim Tebow locker room speech?
Kind of. It was just like,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like, we're not playing very well. We'll try and play better. But it was way longer than that. It was really odd.
Is this how the Bill Self era ends?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I
Is
don't
he healthy?
think so.
He's not healthy, right?
He wasn't a couple years ago.
Yeah, he missed the tournament because he wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
Okay. So I use the vague terms. I'm sorry. UCLA at Northwestern, 8 o'clock. FS1 if you're into the Big Ten style of basketball.
Number one thrill scorer KenPom tonight.
Okay, look at that.
Yeah.
NBA TV is in Utah tonight for the Pistons at the Jazz at 8 o'clock.
Hello.
And NHL Network is in the Garden at 6 o'clock for the Islanders against the Rangers, the Battle of New York.
Don't you love it?
Classic. And finally on Max at 8 o'clock, for some reason, Bill Simmons saw Winning Time and said, I demand equal time for the Celtics.
I want a Celtics version.
The Celtics City is the name of the docuseries. It chronicles the remarkable saga of the Boston Celtics, the NBA's winningest and most storied franchise. That is the log line. That is not something that I, a Celtics fan, wrote. I, a Celtics fan, don't want this to exist.
You're one of the good Celtics fans, Josh.
I wrote Ben Simmons produces it. That's not.
Well, Ben Simmons is Bill Simmons' son, so it's possible that he produced this.
We are talking about Nepo babies in this half hour of the show. Andre Agassi, Manny Ramirez, Bill Simmons.
By the way, the YouTube comments are saying that Self did the statement because Zeke Mayo was getting a bunch of questionable DMs.
Oh, well, I don't like that. Don't do that.
Don't do that. No, we do not support that. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Connor.
So we're watching That's the Show. If you miss anything, 1620thezone.com is where you can find it. The crossover, Josh, don't ever turn my mic off, is coming up next.